Okay, everyone, we're about to get started. If we can find our seats, silence our cell phones, close the side and back doors, I'd greatly appreciate it. Council members, please come up to the dais. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Wednesday, the 21st day, of May in the year 2025. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had it scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 6:06 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Hewlings.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
Councilperson Solomon. Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise.
Stepped away.
Okay. Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
We have 8 council members in attendance at 6:06 p.m. May we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please? I'd like to dedicate this moment of silence to Josephine Mahan. She was a long-term city employee, worked in the office of the city clerk, and she retired February of 2003 and passed away April 14th of this year.
Jose Fernandez.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Council President Waterman and the members of the Municipal Council, in accordance with the New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2025. And filed in the office of the city clerk on Friday, November 15th, 2024. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, May 16th, 2025 at 12:56 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. I do see Councilperson DeGise present. I'll mark her present at 6:09 p.m. So we now have all 9 council members present. Is that feeding back?
It sounds like someone's hearing aid.
See if I can adjust.
Egg is back.
Oh, that's it.
Oh.
We now know the culprit. We love you, Councilperson Baggiano. All right. On to our first reading ordinances. If you would allow me to read them into the record. Item 3.1, City Ordinance 25-058 is an ordinance amending Chapter 175, Food Handling Establishments of the Jersey City Municipal Code, creating an itinerant mobile truck parking zone 3. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 25-059 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 255, Short-Term Rentals. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 25-060. An ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designating a reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. Item 3.4, City Ordinance 25-061 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-9, Stop Intersections to designate the intersection of Bergen Avenue and Woodlawn Avenue as a multi-way stop-controlled intersection. Item 3.5, City Ordinance 25-062 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-31, Parking Restrictions for Street Cleaning Purposes on Berry Lane and Forest Street. Item 3.6, City Ordinance 25-063 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 7, Metered Parking, amending Section 332-48, designation of parking spaces on Liberty Avenue between Newark Avenue and Van Winkle Avenue. Excuse me. Item 3.7, City Ordinance 25-064 is an ordinance amending Chapter A 352, enabling ordinances of the Jersey City Municipal Code, dedicating a plaque on a bench located on Grove Street or Newark Avenue in the city of Jersey City in honor of Arif Patel. And last but not least, item 3.8, City Ordinance 25-065 is an ordinance opting into the Garden State C PACE program to facilitate the financing of the C-PACE projects. Council members, I'm going to be taking a vote on items 3.1 through 3.8. I know that Councilperson Solomon had made some amendments to, not amendments, but additions to item 3.1, but everything is up to date on the agenda and online. So with that being said, council members are going to be taking a vote for introduction on items 3.1 through 3.8. Councilperson Ridley.
I want to say I'm happy to see 3.8 on the agenda. I've had some discussions recently with my Port Lib residents who are looking for us to adopt this program, and they'll probably be here next week to speak more about it. With that, I vote aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Hewlings.
Aye.
Sorry, Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Items 3.1 through 3.8 are introduced unanimously, 9-0. Council members, I believe we're going to make a motion to defer to a resolution that is on the agenda, which is item 10.8, resolution 25-334, is a resolution honoring and thanking Director Walter Greg Kearse, the Office of Emergency Management, and the Jersey City Police Department and the Jersey City Fire Department for their swift and coordinated response to the helicopter crash incident. Council members, may I have a motion to defer to item 10.8?
Motion. Second.
Motion was made by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to defer to item 10.8, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 9-0 to defer to item 10.8. Councilperson Solomon, do you have the resolution to read into the record?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All righty. This is a resolution, as Sean read the title, so I will read the rest of the resolution. Whereas on April 10th, 2025, a helicopter crash occurred in Jersey City, prompting an immediate and large-scale emergency response from multiple agencies, including the National Transportation Safety Board, New York Police Department, New York Fire Department, Port Authority, Jersey City Police, Jersey City Fire, and Jersey City Office of Emergency Management to ensure public safety, secure the crash site, and investigate the cause of the incident. And whereas Director Kearse and the Office of Emergency Management acted swiftly to coordinate the deployment of our first responders, ensuring effective communication, rapid deployment of critical resources, and ensuring that all responding agencies were aligned in their efforts to manage the scene efficiently and safely. And whereas the Jersey City Police Department responded rapidly to secure the area, manage traffic, and provide critical on-site assistance to first responders and investigators. And whereas the Jersey City Fire Department displays outstanding professionalism and courage, deploying rescue resources and conducting thorough assessments to mitigate any immediate danger to the surrounding community. And whereas the coordinated efforts of OEM, JCPD, and JCFD reflect the dedication, preparedness, and resilience of Jersey City's emergency services, whose work protected lives and maintained calm in the wake of a tragic event. And whereas the City Council wishes to formally acknowledge and commend these departments and their leadership for their exceptional service and unwavering commitment to the people of Jersey City. And whereas the Municipal Council wishes to commend Director Walter Gray Kearse for the leadership and professionalism he demonstrated in managing his department and coordinating the response to this tragic accident. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Municipal Council commends and extends our deepest gratitude to Director Kearse, the Office of Emergency Management, JCPD, and JCFD for their exemplary response to the helicopter crash incident and their continued dedication to public safety and emergency preparedness.
All right, council members, thank you for reading that into the record, Councilperson Solomon. I think it would be correct if we took a vote on the resolution and then maybe ask the guest here, our director, to come up and maybe say a few words. Before we do that, let's take a vote on the resolution. Councilperson Ridley.
I would first want to say thank you. Thank you for service to our city. I think that we have some of the best emergency response teams here in Jersey City in our different departments, and they always show up. They show up when it matters the most. They do an excellent job when we have very intense situations, and I think that they should always be commended for that. With that, I vote aye.
Councilperson Hewlings.
I just want to thank Director Kearse. As usual, he, JCFD, JCP do a great job. They do more than they need to do for us in Jersey City. We can always count on them, and I'm glad to see it being acknowledged tonight, and I vote aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
I want to say we probably have the #1 police department and fire department in the entire state of New Jersey. And I want to say, Greg, every time I call you with an issue and a problem, you take care of it immediately. You're one of the best, Greg, and I want to thank you for everything you do for me. So, and I vote yes.
Councilperson Saleh.
Director Kearse, this is but a small token of our appreciation as a council. And honestly, you deserve a resolution every day. You are rock steady. You are a mountain of a man, and you are a gentleman cut from a different cloth. And it's an honor to work alongside you. You are one of the most responsive people, and you have developed a first-class OEM, first-class Jersey City Police Department. Everything that you do is amazing, and I proudly vote aye. Thank you for what you did that day and every day.
Councilperson Solomon.
Echoing my colleagues, but just thank you, Director, for your extraordinary service to Jersey City and extremely, competent and effective response in times of crisis, and in particular, the most recent tragic event. Thank you to your whole team. I know obviously Marty and Tim and others, and thank you we have great representatives of our fire department, as well as all the officers of JCPD. Also fitting to have this here because everybody was in action a couple nights ago to save the man on the Pulaski Highway. So just continued service to our city, and we're deeply grateful. So I proudly vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
In light of not sounding like a broken record, I'll probably vote aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Thank you very much, Director, and to the members of public safety who are here. I know incidences like this with the helicopter are never wished for or hoped for. Our people are not eager to run out into madness, but they're always should be commended for what they do, because they go out there and they handle and execute everything without a hitch. In all of Jersey City, we have the best fire department, the best police department, and the best emergency management. They're prepared. They're given what they need, equipment-wise, training-wise, but also the support from their leader and the other leadership of the city. So thank you. I vote aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
So I've got a lot to say on this. So let's recognize the three departments you have public safety that the public safety department has, which is police, fire, and OEM. And the common denominator that the public safety has is Greg Pierce. I think we missed the point by not appointing him director of public safety, but that's for another story. But Greg, you are 100% spot on. You know, your departments work for you automatic, not just, you know, the day of that tragic accident, I showed up on the scene. It was the best thing to hear when New York City came over and you said, hey, I'm in charge of this command. That's what Jersey City is all about, you know, and that's what we take pride in. We're not one of the best. We are the best, you know, and we take pride in that. And that's why I give you 100% support. To the men and women of those departments, you continue to knock it out the park every single time this city has a crisis. And it's not because people are telling me, it's not because people are putting it on social media or the news is there. I'm there front and center with you guys, and I see how your department just works for you, and we need more of that. PD, FD, you guys are the best. OEM, knocked it out the park as usual. And I proudly 100% vote aye.
And Council President Waterman.
I want to thank you, Director Kears and the fire department. You know, I want to thank you for your courage, because in incidents that just happen all of a sudden, it takes courage to make a quick decision. I want to thank you for your compassion, because you do care about the people of Jersey City, because when their situations are going on, Director Kears is really always on the front line trying to figure out to make sure the city runs smoothly and safe. And I want to thank you for your commitment, because you have always been committed to the residents of this city. So with that, I proudly vote aye, and may God continue to bless you.
City Resolution 25-334 is approved unanimously, 9-0.
Thank you very much for your support. Councilman Solomon, thank you for sponsoring. As the council as a whole, thank you for approving. April 10th was suffice to say, was a tragic day with the loss of 6 people, innocent lives. However, I think it was a good day for Jersey City, because it gave us the opportunity to show just what we can do. I have members of my staff here tonight. I'd like to start with Deputy Chief Lauren Hart, who was the incident commander from the fire department that night. Deputy Chief Rob Daly from the fire department, a member of my office. My deputy Martin Valenti, who was the operations director that day. One and only Tim Lawrence, my logistics man. Hey. My deputy from communications, Bob Baker. My office manager, who keeps us all in line, Deb Baker. And we had the newest member of our staff, Brennan Trowbridge. But on behalf of my office, and as you all alluded to, the 2 best public safety agencies in the state of New Jersey, Jersey City Police and Fire. Thank you.
Director, can you just repeat the last person that you mentioned?
Brennan Trowbridge.
Can you spell that for us?
TROWBRIDGE. Brennan.
Thank you so much, Director. Congratulations. They're going to take a quick picture. so bad?
I am in the back. Very much disaster.
Marty, he causes disasters.
All right. Just make sure you're sitting down, Councilman, so we can hear you on this, on your mic.
Before we start, Sean, I'd like to, hold on, I gotta pull it up. I'd like to ask that, resolution 10.30, 10.31, and 10.32 be tabled.
To be withdrawn?
Yes.
So you're making that motion, Councilperson Baggiano? So for those who didn't hear the Councilperson Baggiano is making a motion to withdraw items 10.30, 31, and 32 from the agenda. May I have a second? Second by Council President Waterman. On the motion to withdraw items 10.30 through 10.32, Councilperson Ridley. Councilperson Hewlings.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye, and I think the street should be opened.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Just want to make a few quick remarks here. Obviously, it sounds like the motion will pass and the ordinances will be withdrawn, which I think is the right thing for tonight. Over a year ago, I met with some members of the administration and I made the point that if we as a city do not solve the legitimate issues that businesses and residents on the pedestrian plaza face, there's not going to be appetite for more investment for more of these types of projects. And to date, we have not done that. And I'm asking the mayor and the administration to put together a real plan, as is the administration's responsibility, for us to accomplish that goal. And so I will always be a partner in that, but also want to ensure that the administration is taking responsibility and taking the steps necessary to ensure that the pedestrian plaza meets its full potential. Would love to see a playground in that location, but I don't think at this time we can justify another investment when we haven't done enough to maintain the original $7 million investment that was put in place. So I'd love to be able to sponsor this in the future, but think there's more work for us to do. And so with that, I vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Table, Sean.
This is to withdraw items 10.30, 31, and 32 from the agenda.
Oh, Barrel, okay. I vote aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion to withdraw items 10.30 through 32 is approved unanimously 9-0. Okay, and I'm just marking the agenda as such. All right, on to our second reading ordinances. Our first second reading ordinance is item 4.1, City Ordinance 25-005. Is an ordinance implementing Chapter 67 Pedestrian Malls, Article 3, Provost Street, between Bay Street and Morgan Street Pedestrian Mall. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
A motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-005 was made by Councilperson Rivera
Yep.
and seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-005, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings,
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-005 is approved 9-0. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 25-005, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings, Councilperson Bajano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 25-005 is adopted unanimously 9-0. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.2, City Ordinance 25-055 is an ordinance authorizing the execution of a temporary construction easement and access easement agreement between the City of Jersey City and Stacco Development, LLC, Stacco, authorizing Stacco to install and maintain one monitoring well at 605 Monmouth Street. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-055 was made by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-055, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings,
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0 to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-055. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 25-055, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings,
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon, Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 25-055 is adopted unanimously 9-0. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.3, City Ordinance 25-056 is an ordinance of the Municipal Council amending Chapter 3, Administration of Government, Article 10, Department of Housing, Economic Development and Commerce to amend the required wage, benefit, and leave standards for building service workers covered on the development projects. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record. Wait. I think we have somebody. Yep. If you can just spell your name before you start, and I won't start the clock until we have the complete spelling of your name.
Okay. My name is Anna Maria Hill, A-N-A, Maria, M-A-R-I-A, Hill, H-I-L-L.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So good evening, Council President Waterman and members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Anna Maria Hill, and I serve as the State Director for SEIU Local 32BJ. We represent over 185,000 property service workers on the East Coast, including nearly 15,000 here in New Jersey, 1,500 of whom live here in Jersey City. I'm here today to express strong support for Ordinance 25-056, which updates and strengthens Jersey City's standard wage law. This law was originally passed in 2012 to ensure that city's public dollars support good jobs, not poverty wages. But outdated standards and weak enforcement have left too many residential building service workers, porters, doormen, and concierge struggling to get by, even as luxury developments rise and developers reap enormous profits. The facts are clear. A small group of developers have have benefited from substantial city tax incentives, all while failing to invest in the workers who keep their buildings running. These workers are disproportionately Black and Latino, and despite driving the success of Jersey City's booming real estate sector, they remain shut out of the prosperity they helped to create. Rents here are now ranked among the highest in the country, yet many of the workers who service these buildings live paycheck to paycheck, often without meaningful benefits. Ordinance 25056 addresses this injustice in 5 critical ways. First, it expands worker coverage. The current law only applies to janitors and security officers. This ordinance would broaden coverage to all building service workers, including concierge, door persons, and handy people, ensuring more workers are protected under the law. Second, it updates wages and benefit standards. The current wage floor is outdated and ineffective. The ordinance raises the minimum to the higher of 125% of the state minimum wage, which equates to $19.36 an hour this year, 2025, or the relevant collective bargaining agreement rate. It also aligns benefits like healthcare and paid time off with Federal Service Contract Act standards, offering workers the security they deserve. Third, it adds anti-retaliation protections. Workers must be able to speak out about wage violations without fear of punishment. Take Javier Amador, a cleaner at 90 Christopher Columbus Drive. When he helped expose wage theft at his worksite, he was fired. This ordinance would prohibit such retaliation and create a presumption of wrongdoing if an employer takes adverse action within 90 days of a worker asserting their rights. Fourth, it strengthens notice and pay stub requirements. Right now, many workers don't even know they're covered by the law. The ordinance would require employers to post clear notices of worker rights.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just on behalf.
thank you.
I
The
ask that
time
you
is up.
pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. You can just state your name and spell your name for the record.
Sure. My name is Joe Terrazzi, Tarrazi. Good evening, counselors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you, all of you tonight. I'm Joe Terrazzi. I'm a 32 BJ member. I work as a concierge and a porter in a luxury apartment building and a lifelong Jersey City resident. I'd like to talk to all of you about Ordinance 25-056. Although I don't work in Jersey City, as a residential worker and as a city resident, I'd like to urge you all to vote in favor for this ordinance to support essential workers like me. New development is reaching every corner of Jersey City, with developers constantly asking for tax breaks. In exchange, the city makes developers ensure that workers like me are paid a standard wage and benefits. But those standards haven't been updated since 2012. It's a standard that no longer represents a living wage, and it doesn't represent our value either. I know what it's like to have to take out trash or recycling for 200 apartments in one building, or handle nearly 100 packages a day while taking all sorts of requests from residents. Residential workers are the backbone of these buildings, and we deserve a fair share of the wealth we help to create. This ordinance would set minimum compensation at $24 an hour, with 12 paid holiday a year, and 2 weeks of paid vacation after 1 year of service. I can tell you that there is a lot of fear and uncertainty among essential workers that the burden on who bears the brunt of rising costs is more unbalanced than it has ever been before. This new standard goes a long way towards fixing that. Thank you.
This is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 25-056. Any member of the public still wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-056 was made by Councilperson Saleh. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Ridley. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-056, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings.
Aye.
Councilperson Vagiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 9-0 to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-056 for final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 25-056, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
I want to thank the members of 32BJ for coming out and speaking in favor of this ordinance. When it was made clear to me that we hadn't updated the standard wage from the federal minimum wage to the state, and the federal minimum wage remains at. No, this is the vote.
It's the vote.
We just closed the ordinance, but it's a.
Oh,
It's a.
Don't worry, he's like the New York Jets. He's behind the times. Don't worry about it.
That basically is tied to the federal minimum wage, which hasn't been risen in a decade plus, and still at $7 an hour. It was clear we needed to update the ordinance, make sure that any developer who gets city dollars gets an abatement, has to ensure that the workers are paid living wages, fair wages, and not poverty wages. So proud to vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore, this is actually for the vote.
this is to close the,
It's not for the Jets to win the Super Bowl. It's a vote.
oh, my goodness, they laughing hard out there. First, I want to thank my council colleague for bringing this to fruition. I think it's extremely important that we make sure that everyone is getting a fair wage. And this is a step in the right direction. So I probably vote aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 25-056 is adopted unanimously 9-0. On to our last second reading ordinance, item 4.4, City Ordinance 25-057 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 218, multiple dwellings, of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Jersey City by adding new Section 12 entitled Preventing Algorithmic Rent Fixing in the Rental Market, in the rental housing market. This is a public hearing on this
Motion.
ordinance. Unfortunately, that's not going to hold. And I see we have a list of public speakers here. So we're going to start with our first public speaker. If you can just come up to the podium. I do have your name first, so
Sean,
yes.
before they start, we just want to let the speakers know we have 3 minutes and that's it.
We'll stick to the 3 minutes, and if you continue to speak, I will mute your mic. Okay? All right, with that being said, our first speaker, if you can state your name for the record.
Anna Maria Hill, ANAMARIAHILL. Okay.
Thank you.
Council President Waterman and the members of council, thank you for the moment to speak. I'm here in strong support of Ordinance 25-057. Thank you to the entire council for voting to place this on tonight's agenda. I'd also like to thank Councilmember Solomon for raising this issue and Assemblywoman Lopez and Senator Gopal for championing this at the state level. This is a straightforward and urgent measure. It simply affirms that landlords and developers who benefit from our city's booming housing market cannot collude to fix prices and push rents higher through the use of so-called rent-setting algorithms. Here's what we know. Companies like RealPage and Yardi Systems have sold a software service to landlords and property managers under the promise that they can outperform the market by coordinating rent increases. These aren't just recommendations, they're a roadmap for collective price hikes, and they're enforced through real-time data sharing among competitors. It's no accident that RealPage advertises the ability to raise rents. In fact, one executive claimed that software could drive double-digit rent hikes, something that in his words, very few managers would be willing to do manually. This is not innovation, it's exploitation, and it's exactly what antitrust law was designed to prevent. As we speak, RealPage and many of the landlords using this software are being sued in class actions in federal court by the Department of Justice, and most recently, right here in New Jersey by Attorney General Matt Plackton. That lawsuit names several major Jersey City landlords, including Kushner Real Estate, Greystar, Bazzuto, and others. These are not fringe actors. They are major players in our city's housing markets. Attorney General Platkin put it bluntly. The defendants in this case unlawfully lined their pockets at the expense of New Jersey renters. And he's right. Jersey City renters have seen a 50% increase in the rent since 2015. Our city is now routinely ranked in the top 3 for the highest rents in the country, trailing only behind San Francisco and New York. That's not coincidence. It's the result of unchecked profiteering, and workers, including the ones we represent, are among those being squeezed the hardest. SAU 32BJ represents the doorman, concierge, cleaners, and security officers who keep these buildings running. They don't get to use algorithms to negotiate higher wages. Many of them already struggle to afford to live in the city they work in, and artificially inflated rents make that even harder. Ordinance 25057 would clarify what should already be obvious. Landlords cannot coordinate through software to fix prices and undermine fair competition in the housing market. It's a common sense pro-tenant, pro-worker reform. It's so common sense that several cities across the country have already passed similar ordinances. We urge the council to send a clear message that rent gouging has no place in Jersey City. Stand with its residents, stand with working families, stand with communities. Pass ordinance 25057. Thank you.
Our next speaker, if you could just state your name and spell your name for the record, please, and you want to bring that mic up towards you.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Kylene Perez. It's spelled Kaileenperec. I am a 32 BJ member and currently employed as a security guard for a computer software company in development in Secaucus, New Jersey. I am addressing the counselor as a lifelong Jersey City resident, speaking on how rent inflation driven by landlord collusions through rent setting algorithm is impacting essential workers like myself and threatening the stability of our entire community. I am currently facing significant challenge just to meet my basic needs. With rent algorithm continue to drive up housing costs in Jersey City, I am increasingly worried about the very real possibility of no longer having a place to call home. With rent being exacerbated by algorithms, I find myself asking, how can I fairly continue to function and contribute in today's society? The soaring rent in all of Jersey City are leaving many residents grappling with the fear of becoming homeless. Many essential workers can no longer afford to pay high rent on the salaries we are currently earning. Ordinance 25-057 will help alleviate the stress many of us face by preventing landlords from colluding to raise rent across buildings in Jersey City. Please, council members, consider Ordinance 25-057 as a call to action from the residents of Jersey City. This legislation will help ease the burden so many of us are facing and allow lifetime residents to remain in communities we call home for our entire lives. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker,
Joel Rothfuss, ROTHF.
you don't have to spell it. Go ahead.
Council, good evening, council members. I'm speaking in support of ordinance 25-057 entitled Preventing Algorithmic Rent Fixing in the Rental House Market. Given what the Trump administration and the real estate lobby are doing in Washington and across the country, it is more important than ever that we fight for state and local governments to have and to exercise power to prevent the abuse of these algorithms, to prevent the use of their residents at the hands of absentee corporate landlords who are using these algorithms to siphon off hard-earned money that would otherwise be fed back into the local community. Councilman Solomon, thank you for sponsoring this bill. I understand that there are some loopholes that may be addressed and may need to be fixed, and I understand that you may be submitting another ordinance for next week. Look forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker.
Good evening, Danielle, Danielle, Didamo, D's and David, D's and David, Mo. Council members, I rise in strong support of Ordinance 25-057 because this is a moment for moral clarity. Jersey City has a choice: protecting the public or protecting the profit margins of corporate landlords using AI to game the housing market. Let's be blunt. RealPage, Yardi, and their ilk don't just suggest rent prices. They collect sensitive data from multiple landlords and spit out inflated pricing recommendations that landlords are then pressured to follow. The result? Artificially high rents and a decimated rental market where real competition doesn't stand a chance. That's not the free market. That's algorithmic collusion, and our residents are the ones paying for it. These companies are already under federal investigation and facing lawsuits for exactly this behavior. We don't need to wait until the damage is irreversible here in Jersey City. We've already watched neighborhoods hollow out, longtime residents pushed out, and affordable units vanish overnight. This ordinance is a chance to draw a clear line in the sand. This isn't just a legal issue, it's a justice issue, because these tools don't hit luxury developers hardest. They hit renters in historically working class neighborhoods. They deepen inequality and accelerate gentrification, pricing out seniors, teachers, essential workers, the very people who built and sustained this city. The irony? These tools are marketed as a way to optimize rent. But what they're really optimizing is return on investment for landlords at the expense of human lives, neighborhoods, and community stability. Let's be clear. We are not anti-technology. We are anti-exploitation. When technology is used to manipulate a basic human need like housing, it's our job to step in. By passing Ordinance 25-057, we send a powerful message that Jersey City will not be a playground for algorithmic greed. We will protect our residents, our housing market, and our values. I urge you, vote yes, not just for what's right today, but for the future we want to build. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Sarah Levine, SarahLevine.
I can't hear you, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Sarah Levine, SarahLevine.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm a Jersey City native and a resident, and I'm also an attorney. I'm a former Deputy Attorney General for the state of New Jersey, and I'm an expert in antitrust and housing law. I'm here to support the proposed ban on algorithmic rent fixing, and I want to start from first principles of competition law. If I own a bodega in Jersey City and I have to decide what price to charge for a can of beans, what can I do? I can research what every other store in town is charging, and I can decide if I want to charge less, maybe take a hit on profit, maybe get more customers, or maybe I charge more because I think I have a better product. Here is what I unequivocally cannot do. If there is another bodega across the street, so a competitor, I cannot walk over there and say, I'm selling my beans for $2, and so are you, but let's both charge $2.50, and then everyone on this block will have to pay more or travel further. That is facially illegal price fixing, and it's anti-competitive because it artificially increases prices, and it distorts the whole market through collusion. And it does not matter how that collusion happens. If I tell the other guy what prices I am charging and he agrees to charge the same, that is collusion. But even if I do not tell him what price I am charging and I just say, let's both charge $2.50, that is collusion. And if I just say, based on my research, I recommend that we both charge $2.50 and he does, that is collusion like any other. It's illegal price fixing. It is also illegal if instead of doing that myself, I enlist a third party to do it. If I engage a company, let's call it Real Beans, and I tell it I've been charging $2, and Real Beans recommends to both me and my neighbor that we charge $2.50, that has the exact same result of artificially, beyond what the market calls for, increasing prices. That hurts customers, and critically, it also hurts law-abiding, actually competing businesses. All of this, without a single exception, applies to the housing market. If I am a landlord, any kind of landlord, I cannot go to my neighbor and propose or recommend specific rent prices. And I cannot ask a third party to do the same thing for me. And I cannot do that because that distorts the market in a single direction. at the expense of renters and to the artificial profit of landlords on the supply side. The proposed ordinance is common sense. It holds landlords accountable to the very same standards of marketplace fairness that apply to every single other business in this city. It does not hurt law-abiding landlords in any way because they can still set prices however they want, based on any analysis they want to do, based on any widely available information. Again, just like any other business. If you are on the fence about this ordinance, I encourage you to ask yourself one single question, and that is, do I believe in the free market? And if the answer is yes, then you should vote yes to eliminate this unfair and harmful distortion in our housing market due to rent fixing. Thank you.
Our next speaker,
Daniel Feldman, D-A-N-I-E-L, F-E-L-D-M-A-N. Thank you, Councilman Solomon, for bringing forward this important ordinance. And this proposal to combat rental price fixing in Jersey City addresses a substantial threat to our community. It's a critical step in protecting our residents from manipulative rent hikes driven by algorithms. I commend you for bringing this ordinance to a vote, and I fully support it and hope that you all vote yes on this to pass it. However, I did want to bring up a few loopholes in the ordinance as it stands now that deserve to be addressed in a future ordinance. For one, the ordinance currently bans landlords from paying for algorithmic rent setting services, but what about free versions? Companies can and often do offer tools at no cost, perhaps through subsidiaries, trade groups, or internally developed software based on public data. Whether money changes hands or not, the use of these tools must be clearly prohibited. Second, licensed real estate agents are not explicitly covered in this current ordinance, and that's a major oversight. Without clear inclusion in the language of the ordinance, there's nothing to stop agents from facilitating or using these pricing tools on behalf of landlords, and we cannot allow this loophole to undermine the ordinance's core protections. Third, there's no mechanism to address the rents that have already been inflated by these algorithms. If we ignore the past, we're letting ongoing harm persist. So we need a way to unwind and correct those price distortions to restore fairness in the housing market. And finally, the penalties. A $2,000 daily fine sounds significant to you or I, but for large corporate landlords, it might be more of like a rounding error or a minor cost of doing business. Instead, we should tie the penalty to the scale of the violation, $2,000 per apartment per day. That would send a real message and serve as a genuine deterrent. Council members, this ordinance is a good start, and I am fully in support of it because we need some protections on the books as soon as possible, starting tonight. However, we need a follow-up to the ordinance in the near future, and please consider us as a resource for future ordinances to close up any potential loopholes. Thank you.
our next speaker,
Mark Boyles, M-A-R-K-B-O-Y-L-E-S. Thank you, Councilman Solomon, for introducing this critical ordinance to combat the plague of rental price fixing in Jersey City. Your initiative addresses a critical issue that deeply affects our community, and for that, I'm truly grateful. I fully support the proposed legislation. It may need some follow-up because there are some loopholes that bad actors could exploit, and the enforcement and transparency could be improved. However, we need this legislation now, and I urge the whole council to approve it. The concerns, following on from those concerns Dan mentioned a couple of seconds ago, he mentioned free or non-monetary use of services, real estate agents, addressing pre-existing inflation and inadequate penalties. I would like to add enforcement challenges and burden of proof. Proving that a landlord's using prohibited service will be tough. The burden of proof rests with the tenant or the city, which presents a significant hurdle to effective enforcement. There's a lack of data transparency. The ordinance does not require landlords to disclose how they set rents or what information they use, not the values, but the actual types of information. This lack of transparency makes enforcement incredibly challenging. Mandating data transparency would significantly aid in addressing violations. Next point, retention of old data. The ordinance doesn't require landlords who previously used rent fixing services to delete or stop using the data they've already obtained. Lastly, no protections for whistleblowers. There are no specific protections for employees of property management companies who might report violations. Without such protections, reporting by employees could be limited. In the future, we need a follow-up ordinance. To borrow a phrase, we need one big, beautiful bill to address all of these issues caused by landlords' use of price-fixing software that makes life so hard for tenants. Tenants have a lot to offer when members of this council draft legislation. Together, we could have come up with a tighter ordinance. Please consider us a resource for the future. In summary, let's work together to create the one big, beautiful bill, making it truly comprehensive. But until then, I urge the whole council to approve this ordinance as written and to adopt it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Noelle. Is that too loud?
No.
Noelle Brower, Noelle.
Noe.
LLE. Last name Brower, Brower.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Noelle Brower, and I'm a resident and renter in Jersey City. I'm here to express my support for Ordinance 25057 because I'm a person, not an algorithm. My husband and I came to Jersey City during the Great Recession. We had both lost our jobs in New York City. Jersey City offered us a second chance. We could afford to live here and rebuild our lives, and we did. We love it here. We participate and vote here. Now, I'm a writer, and last year I was commissioned by Jersey City's own Speranza Theater Company to write a play about Mary T. Norton, who I hope all of you are familiar with. In 1925, she was the first Democratic woman to be elected to Congress, and she represented us. She was from Jersey City. A daughter of Irish immigrants, she fought for the poor. She fought for Jersey City, our city. She was instrumental in the passage of the 1938 Fair Labor and Standards Act that gave us a minimum wage, a 40-hour work week, a right to overtime, and prohibited oppressive child labor. I invoke her now because she would fight for us. She would fight for our right to shelter as a basic necessity. She would fight for renters' rights. She would fight for and pass this ordinance. Being a renter can be tricky. While it allows for a certain degree of freedom, it also leaves one vulnerable to the ups and downs of the market. We used to be able to negotiate our rent. Now there is no person we can negotiate with. In fact, the last time we were told the terms were non-negotiable. Take it or leave it. We are now disposable. That's when we heard the rumors about RealPage and the rent manipulations. This has led to overcrowding in our building. The landlords look the other way as long as the rent is paid. This changes a community. It becomes more transient, less stable, less invested in the future of Jersey City. Many of our friends have had to leave because of rent increases of 20% or more. Connections are lost, and we are all uprooted. The developers want turnover. They want us out. Again, how does this build a community? How does this encourage families to stay here, to volunteer and give back, to raise their children here? It doesn't. It erodes those bonds that create a healthy society that may place a home. I'm for fair market competition, but I want it to be fair. It is not sustainable as it stands. And now I learned that our landlord and others have been using a software, RealPage, sharing our personal data with other landlords in order to auction off apartments to the highest bidder, to manipulate and use our data against us and without our permission. Why, as a renter, can I not feel like I have a home that makes me feel safe, that allows me to exhale and build a life? I don't want to be reduced to zeros and ones in some software system where my value is null. All anyone asks is that the system be fair, and right now it isn't. In fact, it's illegal. We are at a crossroads. We do not want to go the way of the American oligarchs with names of Kushner, determining our fate as a city, as a people. I urge you to support Ordinance 25057. Stop the artificial inflation of our rents that are destroying the fabric of the city. Vote Jersey strong, not Jersey City wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Wendy Paul, PAUL, Jersey City Apartment Owners Association.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I want to begin by thanking Councilman Solomon for beginning a dialogue and meeting with the members of the Jersey City Apartment Owners Association and myself on the rising costs of living in Jersey City. There is an affordability crisis here, the state, and throughout the country. It is no different for owners,
managers, and builders of housing and all of our city's residents. The JCAOA appreciates the opportunity to engage with Councilman Solomon and all members of the council on these economic challenges. The ordinance before you today still needs more work. Ordinances like this one have been successfully enacted in other cities such as San Francisco, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia. Those three cities developed finely crafted language that prohibits the use of non-public data in algorithms used to project and model a building's finances and suggests optional level of run based in part of non-public data. The ordinance is still very broad and takes away from some of the adjudicative authority of the Office of Tenant Landlord Relations and creates a burdensome private right of action so that any individual without any substantial evidence can bring legal action against any multifamily owner, forcing a costly and time-consuming legal process based on suspicion and not fact. A further burden is the fact that so many few property owners actually use this technology here in Jersey City. In 2024, the previous administration of the White House, the Biden administration studied the use of non-public data and rent-setting algorithms in a report titled "The Cost of Anti-Competitive Pricing Algorithms in Rental Housing." It found that the number of housing providers using this technology in the New York metro area is approximately 5%, assuming that Jersey City housing market is as much as 10% of the entire region. The inference is less than 1% of housing providers may use the tools in this area. Given this figure, this amended yet still broadly written ordinance is a solution in search of a problem. Do we expect that this broadband will increase the supply of housing? The council can advocate for relief for continuously increasing utility rates like PSE&G, insurance premiums, tariffs, and other financial threats that make the cost of building and maintaining multifamily homes so challenging. While the amended ordinance is a start to a more perfect local law, we ask that the council consider that this proposal be tabled or we continue to work on it so that the whole council can weigh in on making initiatives to solve real problems facing the majority of our residents in Jersey City. Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weller. Council President, members of the council, residents of Jersey City. I want to sincerely thank Councilman Solomon for championing Ordinance 25057. This is vital legislation that confronts one of the most insidious threats facing tenants today, algorithmic rent fixing. His leadership on this issue deserves our genuine appreciation, as few elected officials have the courage to stand up to the real estate lobby. This ordinance must pass today without delay. We are witnessing an unprecedented convergence of technology and real estate that creates a dangerous money cycle. Developers deploy algorithms to extract maximum rent from tenants. That money funds political campaigns, which then protect developer interests, allowing them to extract even more from residents. It's a perpetual motion machine where regular people's rent checks ultimately finance their own displacement. At Portside, we have observed concerning patterns, units sitting vacant, well beyond the reporting timeline required by city ordinance, seemingly skirting transparency laws while creating artificial scarcity in the market. Meanwhile, rents continue climbing beyond what the law allows. These patterns mirror exactly what industry insiders have revealed about algorithmic pricing systems. They coordinate outcomes that would trigger antitrust concerns if landlords arrange them directly. What makes this moment critical is the looming threat at the federal level. The real estate lobby has quietly embedded language in pending legislation that would strip municipalities of authority to regulate AI systems for 10 years. While local protections cannot survive complete federal preemption, passing this ordinance now creates a vital precedent that will attract national attention and might help to put up the much needed fight. The hardships at Portside Towers offer a preview of what happens when technology outpaces local protections. Council members, we at Portside Towers look forward to working with Councilman Solomon on strengthening this ordinance after it passes tonight, which it must. 30 seconds left. Since I'm following, I guess, landlord lobbyist, 5% sounds pretty low, unless the 5% control 60% of the apartment units. There was another study done during the Biden administration. Elizabeth Warren headed it up, and she found 40% of all rental units in the entire country are subject to real page and price fixing algorithms. These are big numbers. Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Hi, my name is David Wilson. Good evening, Council President, members of the council. I'm here to speak on behalf of this ordinance 25-057. Technology is morally neutral. Technology in and of itself is not good or bad, doesn't necessarily lead to any particular kind of outcome. What matters is what the technology is, how it's used, and who it benefits. The relationship between a landlord and a tenant is extremely asymmetrical. It's very asymmetrical in terms of the information that each party has access to, and it's very asymmetrical in terms of the needs of the people that are on both sides. And to put it, bluntly, people need a place to live. I remember I was a tenant at Portside Towers from 2005 to 2007, and I remember each year receiving the notice of a rent increase and feeling what do you call it? In the pit of my stomach, feeling a tightness in the pit of my stomach, that thinking about, was I going to be able to pay this increase? Did it make any sense to pay this large of an increase? And then what you're thinking about is, if I do accept this, what are they going to do next year? Am I going to be able to make that one next year? And the year after that? Or on the other hand, what if I try and go somewhere else? What if every place that's in the area where I'm trying to live so that I can go to my job is charging comparably, extremely high rents? So these are the decisions they had to make. I ended up leaving Portside Towers in 2007. And I ended up being back there now. But, imagine my horror when I find out that that was what I was dealing with without rent page, without algorithmic rent price fixing. But imagine my horror to know that there's a system of big data that knows exactly how desperate I was, that knows exactly what my not just what my financial situation was, but the amount of desperation and the financial situation of everybody else that's trying to rent in the same area. It's an enormous amount of information that puts in an incredibly, increased amount of pressure on people who are already under a lot of pressure. So I do understand that there are loopholes that maybe that this ordinance, I think, could be improved. And so I'd like you to consider that going forward. But first, I would like you to pass this ordinance today. Thank you.
Our next speaker, if you can just spell your name.
Absolutely. Good evening. Bruce Shapiro, BruceShapiro. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Bruce Shapiro. I'm here tonight on behalf of both New Jersey Realtors and the Liberty Board of Realtors, which is the local board that covers Hudson County. We're actually not here tonight to speak in favor of or against this ordinance. We do understand what precipitated it, and obviously the issues affecting residents of Jersey City. But we are here tonight to request an amendment to the ordinance to one of the changes that was incorporated after its introduction concerning the definition of non-public competitor information. First off, we would like to thank Councilman Solomon and your staff, particularly Isaac, for clarifying in this ordinance that as long as they're acting in the course of their regular business under their license in line with all applicable state laws and regulations, that this does not apply to real estate agents. I would also point out, because I know a few people ahead of me brought that up, I believe there is a provision in this ordinance, I don't want to speak on behalf of the council, that does say if an agent is actually working directly with the company doing an algorithm, then they would be subject to the ordinance. But otherwise, the exemption is if they're just engaging in the course of their regular business. Similar to that clarification that was introduced a few weeks ago when this ordinance was put forward, we would like to respectfully request, whether it's tonight or we heard there will be some changes coming to this ordinance in the future, that an amendment be made under the definition of non-public competitor information, basically clarifying that entities such as multiple listing services, which are public facing websites where obviously you can look at homes for sale or for rent, that they're not included in the definition under non-public competitor information. I know copies of requested language was sent to your office earlier today, and I do have copies tonight if anyone needs them. Happy to share them with any members of the council or staff. The reason that we're requesting this is following discussions with one of our MLSs, and there are representatives from that here tonight, as well as our attorneys. They believe that MLSs might unintentionally be included in the bill. They're entities where obviously not only the public can access information on homes that are being sold or rented, but also where data is stored on homes that have been sold or rented in the past that members of an MLS can access. Our concern is that an MLS may unintentionally be included in the ordinance, even if that is not the intent, which is the reason for this requested change that was sent over to Councilman Solomon's office earlier today. And as I indicated, if the council would like, I do have copies of that change. If there are questions, we're here to answer them, whether it's now or later in the evening. And thank you for taking the time to hear our concerns.
Our next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Ray, SHANNON, I'm speaking tonight a few remarks in strong support of Ordinance 25-057. Thank you, Councilperson Solomon, for bringing the ordinance to this point. I was raised with the belief that communities are strongest when the people who run those communities, whether it be politicians, police, teachers, or healthcare workers, live in those cities. And I believe this ordinance goes to the heart of this goal. And that voting yes is vitally important. Voting no is a vote against regular folks who just want to run the city well, who want to serve the city well. We look forward to the next ordinance that will amend and tighten up the language that will better protect tenants. And I, again, urge you in the strongest words to please vote yes. Thank you.
Our next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Eve Taylor. I'm an accountant speaking in support of Ordinance 25057. Failure to stop rent price fixing by allowing use of price fixing software, as well as the Fulop administration's total refusal to maintain a basic accounting rent control price ledger, are both audit violations which have gone on more than 5 years. The city of Jersey City is not in compliance with New Jersey state law NJSA 530-6.5, which requires that the city must address audit violations within 60 days by filing a plan of correction with the DCA. State law NJAC 530-6.5 mandates audit violations be stopped within 60 days, not 5 or more years. The city is best advised to pass Ordinance 25-057 and immediately take necessary action to bring rent control accounting as a whole into compliance with all applicable state laws. Thank you.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Good evening, Council. Suzanne DeFelice. Just want to
Spell
thank.
that for me, please. I'm sorry.
Yes, Suzanne, SUZANNE, and then DeFelice is D as a dog, E, F as in Frank, ELICE.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank Councilman Solomon for championing this ordinance, Ordinance 25-057. For too long, we've had this cartel of essentially cartel running rents and dictating rents across the country. And we need this to stop and actually make sense for the neighborhoods we live in, data just takes out any kind of sensitivity, any kind of other factors. We know that RealPage is not allowing rents to be altered beyond, I think, 2 out of 10 rents that the data or the program sets. So, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. So I just want to thank you for championing this. My main question and concern is how you will enforce it. There's no sense in having this ordinance if we can't enforce it as a city. So I think that's where I would like to know more answers, what kind of resources we put to make sure this ordinance is run properly and that we do the right thing for tenants and our tax-paying and voting population. Thank you.
State your name for the record, please.
Coughlin, Brendancoughlin. Thank you, Councilman Solomon, for bringing this legislation up. I, like many of my fellow tenants, am pro this. As I said in my last speech 2 weeks ago, these algorithms are designed to create trusts by adding a middleman and cleverly ignoring the fact that it's a trust, claiming technology instead of price fixing. That is what these algorithms do and have been doing in many sectors in our daily lives, from rent to agriculture to everywhere. I do have some concerns about some of the loopholes left in the legislation, but right now I prefer to pass this ordinance and start enforcing it and increase the penalties so that way larger landlords can't ignore it and call it, well, we're being fined again, who cares? Personally, I would suggest linking non-compliance to being unable to raise rents in newer buildings, as that would force them to keep their data public, that force them to actually follow the ordinance and not be able to ignore the fines. Thank you.
Jessica Brand, B as in boy, R-A-N-N. Good evening, City Council. First, I wanted to say I'm here tonight on behalf, of course, of our tenant coalition, and a lot of us are Portside, but well beyond Portside as well. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Councilman Rivera. And we really want to express our collective thanks and strong support for this particular ordinance 25-057. Because it marks a bold and necessary step towards protecting Jersey City residents from algorithmic rent setting and price collusion. And it matters very much to feel like, after speaking here on basically topics of rent and access to housing for essentially years at this point, that we're being heard in a way by approaching this legislation. So we applaud Councilman Solomon, we applaud you, the council, for recognizing that homes are not commodities, and that the use of software to inflate rents and manufacture scarcity, which is being done obviously in our building. We see units sitting empty, as Kevin mentioned, for not weeks, but actually months. That manufactured scarcity is incompatible with housing justice. And I think there's an added benefit of this particular ban. And it's that if you do believe in a free market and that you believe in a free market competition, that typically drives up the quality of the product. What we're experiencing in Portside right now is reduced service. We're seeing, you know, they're not cleaning, their pest control is an issue. We have water intrusion. We have safety issues. We have superintendent issues, repairs that take long times. And it's simply not the fact that if it were free market pricing, that people would not accept that. And consumers would refuse to live in such a place. But given that all of the housing in the area is market price, this is overinflated market price, there's nowhere to go. And if you live and work in Jersey City, or if you live in Jersey City and work in New York, going farther out doesn't actually save you that much money. It would also reduce the cost and process burden on Jersey City, because you wouldn't be investigating all of the complaints and violations and illegal rent petitions as well. So this helps us all. It helps the consumers, the renters. It helps demand a better product that delivers better safety and quality of housing, and it helps the city as well. So an algorithm is, you know, I use computers all the time and algorithms with my work. I'm a scientist, as you know. I'm not anti-technology in the slightest. But an algorithm that perpetuates the opinion of a landlord is one that does not serve the community. Thank you for your time. Please vote yes.
Our next speaker,
Joe Tarazzi, Tarrazi. Hello, councilors. I'd like to introduce myself again. I'm Joe Tarazzi, a proud 32BJ member and a porter and a concierge at the Horizon House luxury apartment building in Bergen County. I'd like to speak with all you about this ordinance because I'm concerned for the viability of living in Jersey City as an essential worker. I've lived here for 25 years, coming from New York, after finding a rent-stabilized apartment and a union job. Like any long-term resident, I can tell you how much the city has changed. Luxury apartments are popping up all over and raising prices for everyone, especially around me where I live downtown. But making it even more unaffordable are landlords fixing rents using algorithms. Algorithms like RealPage and Yardi systems have no place in our society. They've rents so high that only a select few can afford them. Jersey City already ranks among the top 3 in the country in highest rental prices. Imagine how worse this could get if we don't rein in landlords now. I'm fortunate that I live in a rent-stabilized apartment with my partner, but I worry what might happen if our landlord decides to sell the building. I don't want to be priced out of my community all over again. I urge you all to support this ordinance and to ensure that Jersey City remains a city that welcomes working families. Thank you.
our next speaker,
Adrian Orozco, Adrian Orozco.
Thank you.
So I'm the political director for 32BJ. And first, I just want to thank Council President Waterman and the rest of the council for placing this on the agenda today, as well as for months ago voting for a resolution that urged the state legislature to work on similar legislation. Thank you to Councilman Solomon for bringing this on the agenda and authoring this piece of legislation. And I think we've also forgotten that our Hudson County commissioners have also stood on this issue. So I want to thank Commissioner Bill O'Day for authoring a resolution that also urged the state legislature to pass this kind of legislation, and for the rest of the commissioner board for voting in favor of it. I'd just like to say that this is a common sense piece of legislation. It's narrowly tailored, even more than some of the examples we see in other cities around the country. I think some sensible changes have been made, such as excluding realtors from this ordinance. We understand that they collect information from different owners and then provide owners with recommendations on how much to rent at and how much to sell a home at. We understand that, and it makes sense to exclude realtors from this. The bill also excludes owners of multiple properties. So if you own multiple buildings and you'd like to put that all into a algorithm so that you can view how much to raise rents among your own properties, you can do that because it's not collusion. You're not dealing with another landlord. And it even allows for the use of some public information, information that is readily available to the public at no cost because it's not proprietary data. These are, common sense changes to this ordinance. But would like to address the issue of the multiple listing service. We don't think it makes sense to exclude that from this. Realtors are already excluded, so if they recommend a price to their client, they are not caught up by this ordinance. The MLS is not a public database, right? Only realtors can upload information onto there. If we exclude the MLS from this ordinance, we might be opening up a loophole for landlords to be able to take that information that is not readily and freely available to the public to then use it for the same purposes that they're using RealPage systems for. So I urge you to vote in favor of this ordinance, and thank you all again for raising this issue for the past few months.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Laverne Webb, Washington. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, council. I come here, council after council, fighting for housing. Working class people that got to live in this city, that builds this city. That's why I went for years to Washington, D.C. on the Affordable Housing Coalition. And I tell people there's a difference between affordable housing, work-class housing, and middle class. There's a difference. We are running people out of this city because they can't afford to work here and live here. And I appreciate this. They bring it back to reality. That's why I do affordable housing, so people can live here and work here. And this is why I get on developers like the last one I was here with to make sure that somebody can stay in them houses permanently, not 10 years, 20 years, and take affordable housing and put it to market housing. When we built Newport City, then people, I got a lady there still living 40-some years. 40-some years. We got away from making developers put housing down here, uptown, crosstown, wherever. They need to build affordable housing in their units. They're building 200, 500 units, and nobody can live in there. These people work there and can't live in there? It's crazy. We got to do better. We got to do better. Pass this on it. We still have to do better. We got to make sure when they come here and want help from here that they got affordable in there. We need to stop letting them build houses and skyscrapers without any affordable in it. It's crazy. People can build them houses, work in them, and can't live in them. Something's wrong. This is a lesson here tonight. It ain't about money. It's about somebody got to lay their head at night. Y'all be blessed. I'm out of here. My granddaughter got her prom.
And your name?
Shireen McCormick,
You spell that first?
SHIRINMACCORMACK. Good evening, Council. As a Jersey City Woman of Action 2024 and Hudson County Women's History Month honoree 2025, I wanted to speak tonight in support of Ordinance 25057 and those who already spoke about preventing algorithms from determining rent prices in the housing market. Thank you, Council Solomon, for bringing this before the council and all of the council seeking to protect tenants. It's about fairness to community, to humanity. It's about justice. It's about equity. Thank you.
Hello, Michelle Hirsch, MICHELEHIRSCH. Good evening. I stand before you tonight to urge you to take action against algorithmic rent fixing by passing Ordinance 25057. This is a crucial step towards protecting Jersey City residents from predatory practices as detailed in Attorney General Plotkin's complaint. No one knows the devastating impact of artificially inflated rents better than the tenants of Portside Towers. While Equity Residential wasn't named in Plotkin's complaint, Equity is a defendant in similar lawsuits in Washington, D.C. and other jurisdictions. Equity owns at least 5 properties in Jersey City, including Portside Towers, buildings we know should have been subject to rent control since their construction. The connection between our experience and the price fixing scheme is particularly troubling. Paragraph 169 of the Platkin complaint specifically details how RealPage developed ways to, quote, run around rent control laws. At Portside Towers, we've witnessed the consequences firsthand, with some residents facing rent increases beyond 50%. In addition, we're now subjected to all kinds of junk fees. Things that used to be part of our rent have now been recategorized to extort more money from us. These aren't legitimate market forces at work. This is what happens when companies manipulate what they call market rate, a term that has lost all meaning when the market itself has been rigged through collusion and algorithmic price fixing. The human toll is immeasurable. As you know, Portside Towers residents have experienced the anguish of potential displacement, financial strain, and the constant anxiety of not knowing if they can afford to stay in their homes. We're not just statistics in a lawsuit. We're families, workers, and community members who contribute to the fabric of the city. Every error and oversight in our city's housing regulations seems to mysteriously favor landlords and developers. Truly, the pattern defies statistics. But I'm here because I believe that change is possible. I ask you to continue standing firmly on the side of Jersey City residents and voting yes on this ordinance, and vigorously enforcing the ordinance and holding accountable those who have profited from this scheme, including Equity Residential and all others who have exploited our housing market while extracting millions from Jersey City residents. Thank you. Please vote yes.
This is still a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public still wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion. Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-057 was made by Council President Waterman, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-057, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 25-057 is approved 9-0. That was just the public hearing. Just a public hearing.
Oh,
Okay, before I ask for a motion for, excuse me, not a motion, before I ask to adopt, I believe, as spoken, I believe at the caucus, Councilperson Solomon has an amendment to read into the record.
So do you want me to read the amendment or motion first?
I'll make a motion to
I will make a
amend
motion to amend.
City Ordinance 25-057, and those amendments you will read into the record. So this Councilperson Solomon's making the motion.
This is what was shared with the council on Monday. It strikes the first and fifth whereas clauses. So those two clauses are struck. Then definition 1AI will now read coordinate or coordinating means with respect to a service provider collecting non-public competitor information from real estate lessors. And then that's that section, and then section definition 1AI2 will now read recommending to any other party rental prices, lease terms, or occupancy levels to a real estate lessor using the information described in subparagraph 1AI, and then subclause A. This definition exempts owners of multiple properties for actions related exclusively to multiple properties controlled by the same real estate property owner and then last is a added section in that same section 1A6, and that says non-public competitor information means information including but not limited to prices, supply levels, security deposits, ideal occupancy levels, lease contract termination, renewal dates of residential dwelling units, or any other material lease terms that is less than 365 days old and is not widely and readily available to the public at no cost.
Okay, council members, we have a motion to amend City Ordinance 25-057 as read into the record by Councilperson Solomon, and motion made by Councilperson Solomon. May I have a second? Second made by Councilperson Rivera. On the motion to amend City Ordinance 25-057, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
I'm going to vote aye because I want to see the finished product, but I personally don't feel comfortable voting on the final bill tonight. But I am going to vote aye to see the final product.
Councilperson Solomon.
I'm going to vote aye, and then if I could just state briefly, and other folks mentioned possible amendments. I'm working with everybody on those moving forward for the June 11th meeting, and all parties that spoke out and sharing all those suggestions with the council. As you heard, there's some disagreement, so we want to take a little bit of time there. But I do also want to speak to the urgency of passing today, both because of the extraordinary increases in Jersey City rent, and then something that was mentioned by a few speakers, which I only learned today, but the House of Representatives is considering, banning municipalities from engaging in these types of actions. And I think it's very important that we speak directly to that as it's being considered in Washington, to say, no, it's extraordinarily important that we have the ability to regulate our own real estate market. So with that, I vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 25-057. Motion to amend City Ordinance 25-057 is approved 9-0. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 25-057 as amended, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings.
I hope that we can legally enforce this, and I vote aye.
Councilperson Bajano. Councilperson Saleh.
I have a lot of questions. I don't know if I'm going to put them on the record tonight or if you can answer them or. Okay, so we said publicly available data would be the loophole and it would have to be at no cost. But Oprah costs money, and even if you use the internet, that costs money as well. So I don't know how that's going to work. What else? I don't know. You know what? I'm going to vote aye, but this is there are a lot of concerns that I have as far as enforceability, and if we've engaged the prosecutor and division of housing on this, but I'm going to vote aye in good faith. Thank you.
Councilperson Solomon.
Sure. So a couple of thank yous here. First, I want to thank the tenants at Portside Towers. A lot of this began with a case called Weller versus RealPage, and they've been really calling attention to this for 2 years now. So I think it's fitting that Jersey City is taking action in the city where a lot of the concerns about RealPage were first raised. I want to thank the members of 32BJ who have been an extraordinary voice for justice in Jersey City and for protecting working folks. I want to thank obviously all my team and everybody who worked on this, and thank my council colleagues for always collaborating in behalf of a better Jersey City. I want to share a story that someone shared with me today about how RealPage works. When they knew I was considering this ordinance, they said, I hate RealPage. And I was like, okay, why? And they said that they had been going to get a rental renewal, and they had been given a price via email from the agent at the company. And they said, okay, we think we're going to renew at this price. We're going to go down to the agent tomorrow morning and sign our lease papers. So they go to bed, wake up the next morning, go down to the agent. And the agent says, I'm sorry, that was yesterday's renewal price. Today's renewal price is $100 more. And they said, okay, well, we want to negotiate. And they said, I'm not allowed to negotiate. The price is set from the computer screen. And that kind of impersonal behavior obviously is just concerning, but the fact to learn that that additional $100, that person paid $1,200 more out of their pocket to a landlord, was set because that company knew what all of the competitors in the area were setting, knew proprietary data that no one should have a right to know. That's just wrong. That is the opposite of the free market, and we have to take action to stop it. I did also want to share a quote from the federal lawsuit. A landlord was talking about the RealPage product, and he said this in a public setting. He said, "I've always liked this product because your algorithm uses proprietary data from other subscribers to suggest rents and term." That's classic price fixing. He said it on the record, ended up in the lawsuit. We should all be able to agree that this system is wrong. And as our rents skyrocket, there are many causes. We acknowledge that there are many, many causes, but we all be able to take action on one of the main causes here. Now, this bill is not perfect. We're going to work with all parties to make it better. We have limits to just what a city can do, but by moving now, we are sending a message that this conduct is unacceptable. We're calling on our state legislature to pass their bill, and we're doing everything in our power to protect Jersey City renters. And that's what I think we should be doing as public servants. So with that, I'm very excited and proudly vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
So I want to just share a couple of comments. Definitely to my council colleague, this was a great ordinance. And I also want to actually thank, and I concur with him, Portside, you guys really, for the past 3 years have been here kicking ass. And, this is one of the, highlights, keep up the good work. Since I've been here, I've probably received 22 texts by people that are watching streaming on this. And I'm just going to make a sad comment. I'm going to vote aye on this, by the way, but I'm just going to make a sad comment with one of the speakers that made a pretty poor choice example with bodegas and beans. And they were pretty concerned about that. A lot of Latino people chimed in and they were pretty offended by that. I'm sure that the speaker didn't mean anything by it, but to some it was offensive. So once again, great job, Councilman. And yes, in order to enforce this, in order for this to work, there has to be some enforcement. And I think that, and there are going to be more amendments to this. I think that, you can see the puzzle coming together, and that's what this is all about. 32BJ, you guys have been amazing advocates as well. Keep up the great work, and proudly vote aye.
Council President Waterman.
I want to thank the public for speaking. One of the residents came up, and I know her frustration because they come every council meeting because of the Portside issue. And she is for it, but she said, "I just hope we can enforce it." That is, really nerve-wracking for people who really need help. It really is. I believe this is a good ordinance. I am going to vote yes for it. But my concern is really the enforcement, because I've seen this council, we passed plenty of ordinance, but we're very weak on enforcement. And when you are in a situation and there's a law on the book and there's no enforcement, all that does is frustrate you. It really does. It frustrates you. So my concern is, and they said they're going to bring this back, to adjust it again. And I just hope when this come back, we are really tight on the enforcement. Because if not, then it's just like another ordinance on the book and nothing is being done. So I do vote aye.
City Ordinance 25-057, as amended, is adopted unanimously 9-0. Okay, before we move on to the public speaking portion of the meeting, we have a public hearing on the 2025-2026 Central Avenue Special Improvement Assessment Roll and Budget. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing on the 2025-2026 Central Avenue Special Improvement Assessment Roll and Budget was made by Councilperson Saleh, seconded by Council President Waterman. On the motion to close the public hearing, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Hewlings,
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise, Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. Motion to close the public hearing carries 9-0. On to our public speaking portion of the meeting. Please pay close attention to your agenda. I'm going to be calling the number and the first name of the speaker. With that being said, I believe Laverne left. So our next speaker, 5.2, Tina.
Hi, guys. My name is Tina, and yes, I do work for Education of Gilmore. I just want to say congratulations. I thought that was beautiful, especially because of where we live at. That should be the number first thing is housing, because if you in a safe spot, you are able to do what you need to do for your household and your family, and then making sure that we keeping the rent down and making sure that we doing what we need to do in the community. I want to also say that this weekend of helping different families and stuff, that I seen a bigger change in our community. And I'm just praying that we just all come together and just bring Jersey City as one, instead of us divide like the square, the downtown. I believe if we come together and help each other out, that our community will grow. I definitely see it in Ward F. Now, since Education of Gilmore had took office, we have been changing some stuff. Me having my safe spot right there in my community, people are able to walk in and ask for help. I see now mostly in our community is a lot of domestic violence going on. And again, I like to thank God for anti-violence and education and yes, for stepping in and for helping me out with that situation. But again, I just wanted to say to you, I don't really have too much to say because I just been in the community just trying to uplift everybody. I just want us to please just come together and just listen and just stop and just realize it can be us walking in these people's shoes. It can be us in this situation. I always say that by me losing my real mom at 25 and didn't have a mom, I always say that me helping the community, I always think that that could be me living like that, or that could have been me going through that. So I always put myself in other people's shoes. So I just want to thank you guys and keep up the good work.
Our next speaker, 5.3, Edward.
Is anyone here still standing for justice for Drew? Justice for Drew, justice for Drew. I'm here tonight in protest, as always, against Jersey City Mayor's Stephen Fulop. He's running for governor right now, and he does not deserve our support on whole. 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago, Andrew Washington was murdered by the Jersey City Police Department. And although a couple weeks ago, the grand jury did not indict the police officer who shot the weapon, Drew's family is still moving forward with the civil suit. And the mayor did the family wrong. You know, although it only took an hour or less than an hour for them to kick Drew's door down. And Drew has a history of having mental health episodes. Only 10 years just before this incident was he shot by Jersey City Police Department. A traumatic incident, only 10 years later to be tased, simultaneously shot, and pronounced dead. It's unfair. They kicked his door down and he had a knife. But imagine if you were him. Imagine if you were Drew, or if your brother was Drew, or your son was Drew. And it took less than just 60 minutes for them to expire his life. It will never be acceptable. And the mayor, he's undeserving of our support. You all had the audacity, the gumption to vote no confidence for Public Safety Director Shea. That's emblematic of how the mayor is run this city. I promise you, he will do us no justice if we allow him to represent us in this state. Everything that's been going on here tonight it really illustrates that. What has he done for housing? Although Jersey City has seen development and housing skyrocket, most of it has been what? Luxury housing. He's displaced, this is gentrification on steroids. On steroids. He's displaced many of us longtime residents while inviting outsiders in who ultimately earn more money. And because the developers, right, he's able to pocket that for campaign contributions, and the civic engagement levels here are so low, the mayor has made this choice to turn his back on us. That's what he's done. That's exactly what he's done. And this council with many members now have got to do better. We are hoping for a change. Of course we are. In November with the election. But until then, there's much more work to be done. Justice for Drew. Justice for Drew.
Our next speaker, 5.4, Gina.
Good evening. Gina Davison, Ward B, aide to Councilman Gilmore, but I'm speaking on my own behalf tonight as a resident, as usual. Justice for Drew. Justice for Drew. In 2020, City of Jersey City declared May 25th as Black Lives Matter Day in honor of George Floyd. I have not seen any events, recognition, or observance of this day by our current administration. Thankfully, the Drew Cubed Project and Justice for Drew JC are holding an event this weekend. On Saturday, May 24th at 2:30 p.m., you can join us for a day of healing and remembrance. This is their second annual event. They held this event last year and it was wonderful. Kids and adults alike are welcome to come do arts and crafts therapy. There will be resources available and activities. It will be a supportive day of community and racial healing. There are flyers in the back, and we'll be sharing from the Ward F social media page as well. Justice for Drew.
Our next speaker, 5.5, Danielle.
Hi, everyone. I'm here to address the quality of life and safety issues in the area between Jewett and Gautier Avenue on the west side. We've been meeting since 2023, organizing, speaking out, demanding change, and yet here we are, still asking, still waiting. We've been told our calls matter, that reporting crime helps build data, but let me tell you the truth. We call and this is what happens. Flashing lights drive by, maybe they park for a moment and then they leave without stepping out of the car. Sometimes no one comes at all. Meanwhile, our community is suffering. Open air drug dealing, gambling, public drinking, even urination happening right in front of an elementary school and on the corners of Gautier and Jewett. It's happening in plain sight, and we are left to fend for ourselves while our children walk these streets and our families try to live in dignity. Just last week, my daughter asked me, "Mommy, why are grown-ups peeing on the floor like animals?" And I had no answer. How do I explain to a child that this is what our community has been allowed to become? That despite meetings, calls, and outcries, nothing has changed. There are 2 schools in our immediate area, and still, this is the reality we are forced to accept. We watch as other high-crime neighborhoods receive constant police presence, while here on the west side, we get token drive-bys and broken promises. Why not us? Why is our safety not a priority? People love to use the term West Side like it's a trendy slogan, but where is the care when it comes to actually improving the quality of life for the people who live here? You want to say West Side pride? Then back it up with the resources, support, and consistent action. Even our local SIDS have been included in meetings and briefings, and still nothing. Enough is enough. I'm not here tonight just to be heard. I'm here to demand change. We need real action, and we need it now. We've been patient, we've been reasonable, but that time is over. This is our home, and we deserve better. I will not keep explaining to my child why the streets she walks are unsafe. We will keep showing up, we will keep speaking out, and we will keep fighting for the West Side until change comes for real and for good. We need community policing that walks the beat and engage with residents, not just drives through. Accountability for those who ignore our calls, and resources that reflect the taxes that we pay and the lives we live. So I ask you, what is your plan to make our community safe? And what are you going to do? Not next year, not next month, but right now. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.6, David.
Good evening, council members. My name is David Giambuso. I'm going to live across the street from Danielle. The Lincoln Park area in Jersey City's west side is Donald Trump's worst nightmare. People from 100 nations, speaking dozens of languages with a plurality of faiths, live side by side, going to work every day, raising their kids in relative peace and harmony. Some of us have been here for generations. Some of us have been here for a few years. Some of us arrived in the neighborhood and the US only recently. But our community is under attack, and it's a result of neglect and poor decisions on the part of the city. For years, we've complained about the lawlessness we see on West Side Avenue between Kensington and Duncan. We see drug dealing, violence, open drinking on the street, pounding music, and disregard for the law, the police, and the residents. One bodega on the corner of West Side and Godier Avenue is the center of this lawlessness. 733 West Side Avenue. Everyone knows it. The police know it. Every resident knows it. Every night, a large crowd gathers to drink, buy, and sell drugs, play music at obnoxious volumes. We call the police, they come, they go, and the crowds return every night. People see this behavior and they see the city doing nothing, so they feel they can also operate with impunity. There's a group of people who gather almost every night on the steps of St. Al's Elementary School to shoot craps, drink, fight, pee in public. I can see them from my porch. I've seen these guys gather around as kids are zooming back and forth on their bikes and scooters on the way to Lincoln Park. I called the police once. I was told if they're not fighting, there's nothing they can do about it. I took a photo that night of one of the gamblers peeing 10 feet in front of my porch, and then they came and did something about it. There's a guy who sets up every day on West Side Avenue with a folding chair, an iPad to watch basketball, and a little gym bag full of narcotics that he doles out to people as they approach him openly in daylight on West Side Avenue. My 3-year-old daughter, two of his customers, 2 women, were brawling on the street at 11 a.m. one day over a bag of drugs. My daughter saw that outside of our front door. Just the other day, a piece of drug paraphernalia blew into our own backyard where she plays with her toys. I've lived in cities my entire adult life. I know noise, drugs, and crime are a part of that life. But this is not that. This is neglect. The city can do more. The city has to do more. We've seen our taxes go up 40% in 40 years, where renters and homeowners shouldering an unfair tax burden because of mistakes by past councils and mayors who sold out our city to downtown developers that are still not paying their fair share of taxes. But now this council and this mayor has to do something about it. We're not looking to make West Side Avenue the Newark Ave pedestrian walkway, but it would be nice if the city paid a little of that attention and investment on the people who are shouldering the burden of this city's property taxes. The city leader or leaders that can actually finally make progress on this will be heroes to the West Side. Thank you for hearing me out.
Our next speaker, 5.7, gang.
Good evening, members of the City Council and fellow residents. My name is Gay Dunstan. I've lived on West Side Avenue for 26 years. I'm here tonight because our community is struggling with issues that we have been talking about for years, but nothing has changed. We've held community meetings, we've made phone calls, we've reported crimes and disturbances, we've done our civic duty, but despite our efforts, despite our commitment to this neighborhood, we have been left with nothing but empty promises and fleeting patrol cars. Meanwhile, our streets are overrun, open-air drug dealing, gambling, drinking, and public urination are happening out in the open. I've even seen a couple have sex once, like on West Side Avenue. True story. On our sidewalks, in front of our schools, and at our local bodegas, groups of people have taken over our spaces, turning them into hubs of crime and disorder. They are not just disrupting our daily lives, they are dismantling the very fabric of our community. We have asked for help, we have asked for police presence, not just a drive-by with flashing lights, but real engaged community policing. We need foot patrols, we need accountability, we need officers who know our streets and aren't afraid to step out of their vehicles and make a difference. And yet, nothing. We're told to report for data, to call it in, but when we do, nobody comes. When we speak up, we are told to be patient, but how much longer are we supposed to wait? Our children deserve to walk these streets without fear. Our families deserve to shop at local stores without stepping over broken bottles and suspicious deals. Our taxes have gone up 40% in 4 years. We are paying more, but getting less. Where are the resources? Where is the accountability? Why are our calls for help ignored while other parts of this city thrive with full support and services? I'm here tonight to tell you that we are done waiting. We need action, not just talk. We need resources, not just reassurances. We need a real plan to take back our streets, to protect our families, and to restore the community that we love. So I'm asking you, Mayor Fulop, City Council members, what are you going to do to protect West Side Avenue? Not next year, not next month, but now. We have done our part, but it's time for you to do yours. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.8, Crystal. Not here? Oh, she's here. Sorry.
Good evening, everyone, council members. My family and I, we live on Kensington Avenue on between West Side and JFK. I'm speaking to you today to the deep concern of deteriorating conditions on the corner of Gautier and West Side Avenue. This is an ongoing problem for the side of West Side. While we understand that public spaces are for everyone, the activities regularly occurring on these corners have moved beyond unacceptable public gathering that now are creating an environment that is unsafe and unsanitary for everyone in the neighborhood. We have public urinations, we have drug activities, and these issues have combined and created an atmosphere of neglect and insecurity for everyone. Residents feel uncomfortable walking past this corner, children are exposed to inappropriate behaviors, and constant disturbance. This is not the standard we should be accepting if we live in Jersey City. We are asking to this, no, we're not asking to display people without the cost, but we're asking for the laws to be, the city to be upheld to the most and claim the safe and clean space for all community members. Addressing this issue is crucial because we want our community to grow and see businesses coming to our area. A safe and welcoming environment is essential for the kind and positive development. We're eager to improve and we're willing to work with officers and city departments and have a solution. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker, 5.9, Corey. Not here. Next speaker, 5.10, Alexandra.
Good evening. My name is Alexandra Hernandez, and I'm a longtime resident of Jersey City. I attended PS 37 as a child, graduated from County Prep. I missed the G's. and attended St. Peter's for undergrad. Excuse me. I was born, raised, and educated in the city, and I'm here to advocate for my community in regards to Ordinance 25-061, which proposes Woodlawn Avenue and Bergen Avenue as a multi-way stop. My parents have owned their home on Woodlawn Avenue for nearly 30 years, and car accidents have been a recurring issue at this intersection. An awful car accident occurred on April 28th around 3 p.m., which was the catalyst for me reaching out to Councilperson Ridley's office. The accident was so awful that one driver swerved onto the sidewalk almost 100 feet from point of impact, where her airbags imploded, and the other driver's car was completely totaled. I spoke with Councilperson Ridley's assistant Gladys, who was very helpful. She's awesome. And she reported this issue with traffic and engineering. And while it's nice that my request was acknowledged and an ordinance was proposed, it's simply not enough. Residents are hesitant to even park their car near this intersection, but sometimes have no choice because of limited parking. Property damage has occurred over the years because drivers swerve into fences after impact. This is an extremely busy intersection. It has a bike lane, bus stop, and is near many schools, including Snyder High School, PS 34, A. Harry Moore, which is a school for children with special needs, and NJCU. Since reaching out, 2 more car accidents have occurred. One on May 1st around 5 p.m. where a cyclist was hit, and the other on May 18th around 9 p.m. This is a total of 3 accidents in 30 days, and they occur at any given time. It's imperative that something be done before someone gets seriously injured or a fatality occurs. Additionally, while I do believe in compromise, I do not think adding more stop signs will suffice. There should really be a traffic light installed. As many know, some drivers believe a stop sign is merely a suggestion, not a requirement. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker, Danielle.
Good evening, Council President and members. First, thank you for moving forward Ordinance 25-057. It's a meaningful step toward addressing the imbalance in our land use decisions, and residents are watching, grateful for action when we see it. Now let's talk about what's happening across Jersey City. Developers prioritized, public needs ignored, and safety treated as an afterthought. In Journal Square, a 56-story luxury tower was just approved, brought to you by Kuldeep Sunny Kumar, a developer with a history of labor violations, unpaid workers, and walls that are literally bulging. And we're told 11% affordable housing makes it worth it. That model is obsolete. These are luxury towers for investors, not homes for working families. Meanwhile, a council member is using city vehicles to hand out campaign signs. That's not just unethical, it's insulting. The Padside building, once promised as home to Center Pompidou, was bought with public money. But after the state pulled $24 million, the city gave up and is now quietly trying to sell it off. No plan, no community guarantees, another public promise disappearing behind closed doors. And these aren't isolated issues. At Hutton and Sherman, a PS8 student and her parent were hit by a car walking to school. Jersey Police Department is now posted there during drop-off, but only after a child was nearly killed. The PTA's petition for a crossing guard is struggling to hit 1,000 signatures. Why is it always too little, too late? On Manhattan Avenue, we finally got a state grant for a bike lane, a safety upgrade that's badly needed, but instead of installing it, we're asking for an extension. Why delay infrastructure that saves lives? At Pershing Field, people are literally driving onto the track because it shows up on GPS. Residents are begging for better signage and closing the gate themselves. We're managing park safety by group text. On the west side, there's open drug use, public urination, and harassment in broad daylight. Taxes are up 40% in 4 years, but services are nowhere to be found. In 1949, at the dedication of Martiniac and Wright Park, a speaker said, "No longer will the people of Jersey City tolerate a dictatorship that would eventually destroy freedom of speech, the press, assembly, and religion. The dignity of the individual is supreme. The vehicle of democracy cannot run on entitlement. Start steering this city in the right direction." Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.12, Cameron. I think he's here. Next speaker, 5.13, Stephanie. No, Stephanie. Next, 5.14, Pam.
Hello and good evening. My name is Pam Andes, and tonight we have our college interns and volunteers with Councilman Rich Bogiano. Two of them are students at NJCU and will speak tonight about their experiences. They have been terrific, and we would love to write a letter of recommendation for any job opportunities, so please let us know if you want to hire them. I wanted to remind the students a few things about City Council and council chambers. First of all, please thank our council members. They work all of the time and their time is valuable. And they used to be the ones that were here speaking in the public, so they know how it feels. Second, council chambers is a court of legislation, like a court of law. Be respectful. Just to explain the layout, in front of the speaker's podium are the 9 council members' chairs, which are raised at a highest level. On the next level, in the center, sits our gorgeous city clerk and our gorgeous court stenographer. And then on the floor level, to the right of the speaker's podium, are representatives of the mayor's office, the business administration, and legal counsel seated at the table. And to the left, also on the floor level of the podium, is the press. And in the chairs on both sides are city council staff. And in between the speaker's podium and everything I discussed before is a wooden banister, which separates the staff from the public. Last, speak from the heart. Acknowledge that there is a lot of pain and anger in this room, but also know that there is a lot of healing and resolution outside of the room. Finally, I want to thank you both for helping the councilman and the people of Jersey City. You'll do great.
Next speaker, 5.15, Roman.
Good evening, everyone, and justice for Drew. My name is Roman Dodia. You guys have heard me speaking a couple of times, and I just wanted to say thank you, Councilman Rich Bergiano, and all the council members who work their lives out for us public. I understand there are a lot of things you have to handle, and we sometimes become disappointed, but I wanted to appreciate what all of you do to serve us. And my experience has been great so far. I am really enjoying the comedic timing of Rich and what he does. And I also am thankful for what he stands for and what he embodies for us. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
You.
God, Rich.
Our next speaker, 5.16, Jennifer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Crispy, and I am a student studying in NJCU with the aspiration of going to law school, and I'm also an intern for Councilman Baggiano. Today, I want to talk about something that's affecting neighborhoods all across country and hitting close to home right here in Jersey City. It's called gentrification. At first, it might look like a good thing. New shops, nicer parks, maybe even better schools. But what's really happening underneath is that the original residents, the people who built the culture, the community, the soul of the neighborhood, are being priced out. Rents go up, property taxes rises, and suddenly the people who lived there for decades can't afford to stay. Now, affordable housing is a term we hear a lot in Jersey City, especially when new developments are being approved. But here's the problem: affordable for who? In many cases, affordable housing is based on something called the Area Median Income, AMI, and that includes incomes from places like Hoboken and Manhattan. That drives the average way up. So what ends up being called affordable is actually out of reach for very people who need it the most, such as working class families, seniors on fixed incomes, single parents, and union workers. That's where rent control comes in. It sets limits on how much landlords can increase rent each year, giving tenants stability and peace of mind. In cities where rent control laws are strong, people can stay in their communities, raise their families, and live with dignity. But here in Jersey City, rent control doesn't cover everyone. Many new buildings are exempt, some landlords exploit loopholes, and too often tenants don't even know their rights. We need stronger enforcements, broader protections, and policies that put people before profit. It's not just about rent, it's about fairness. It's about who gets to live here, who gets pushed out, and who gets to decide what our communities look like. Jersey City is a vibrant, diverse working class city, and we need housing policies that reflect that reality. Real affordable housing, real rent control, protections for long-time residents, developments that include the community, not replaces it, because everyone deserves a place to call home. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.17, Robert. Robert A.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Robert S. Allen Jr., President and CEO of the People Speaks Outreach Ministry of Hudson County, New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. I was hit with one of those e-bikes, put in a hospital many times. Since then, I've seen many women, kids, and dogs get killed. When are we going to do something to eliminate what's going on? I talked to Councilman Buziano. He's down with it. We have to have this regulated and we need it now. What do you say about it? If we don't do something about it, it's going to increase. The more that I go out 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, these guys don't even have green cards, don't talk English. They don't care as long as they're making their money. And as long as you guys are sitting around, letting the police walk around, doing nothing, it's going to increase and kill people. What's going to have to happen? Your mother and father got to be killed, or we're going to do something about this today. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, 5.18, Ralph. I don't think I've seen Ralph. Oh, there he is. Sorry.
Yes, hello, council. Ralph Sinisi. I'm the owner of Grove Street Bicycles, and I am here to speak about the e-bike safety. It is a huge problem. I have customers coming in every day. People are getting hurt. There's been fatalities. There are going to be more fatalities. The bikes are going around without brakes. They have tires that are blowing out. They don't have lights. There's no regulation on any speed. The bike lanes, which we've spent so much money on, are not safe for our community. They're really overtaken by the delivery drivers, going the wrong way. They don't stop at any type of intersections. It's really just every person for themselves. It's definitely a problem, and there is going to be further issues unless something's done. I am asking for a resolution by the state to put into effect laws for e-biking regulations, and I'm here to help however I can. It's only going to get worse and worse. The population of all the e-bikers is growing and growing. It's overtaking everything. When I'm out on my bicycle myself, I feel safer on the sidewalk or in car traffic than I do even on the bike lanes a lot of times. It's definitely a problem, and if something's not done, there's going to be many continued incidents, and it is a major risk to our community. So thank you so much.
Our next speaker, 5.19, Katerina.
Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Katarina Smith, and I'm here today on behalf of the Lincoln Park North Association. We appreciate the opportunity to speak and would like to bring your attention to the ongoing concerns of our residents regarding public safety and quality of life issues in our neighborhood, specifically along West Side Avenue and Gautier Avenue. Residents frequently report incidents involving open-air drug dealing, gambling, littering, fighting, inadequate lighting, poorly maintained sidewalks, loitering, and an overall lack of consistent police presence as promised in the past. These concerns are not new. They're ongoing and deeply impact the sense of safety and livability in our neighborhood. For several years, members of our community have consistently raised these concerns with both our ward council person and the local police precinct. Unfortunately, while we've had some conversations and temporary attention, the issues persist and in some cases has worsened. Neighbors have recently reported presence of drug dealing and use on the steps of St. Aloysius Church and the school on West Side Avenue. We're proud of our community and committed to working collaboratively to create a safer and more welcoming environment for all. However, we can't do this alone. We're asking the council and relevant departments to prioritize targeted interventions, including increased and regular police patrols on foot in the area, deploying regular visible JCPD officers on West Side and Gautier and the surrounding areas, particularly during afternoon and evening hours when illegal activity is most prevalent. Assign a dedicated quality of life officer or unit to this area and provide monthly progress updates to the community. Ensure that funding for these targeted patrols and quality of life enforcement measures is including in the upcoming city budget with clear metrics for accountability and success. Traffic calming measures to improve pedestrian safety, including install a flashing pedestrian crossing sign at the existing crosswalk near this intersection of West Side and Gautier. Consider speed humps or raised crosswalks to further slow traffic and protect pedestrians. Improve street lighting to deter people from doing their illegal business. Replace outdated or dim streetlights with high-intensity LEDs on both West Side and Gautier. Sidewalk maintenance and accountability to the property owner and the business owner of this hotspot where these incidents are occurring. Issue enforcement
Thank you.
notices. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, 5.20, Kevin. Kevin, not here? Okay. Next speaker, 5.21, Joel.
Hi there. My name is Joel Brooks. I live at 232 Duncan. And first I wanted to say congratulations to Councilmember Hewlings. Look forward to working with you through the remainder of your term. And I saw you yesterday at the captain's meeting. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. Before I talk about the public safety issues on the west side, I did also want to speak in support of Ordinance 25-061, the stop sign on Woodlawn and Bergen. I don't live there. I live on Duncan, but I do live in an area where there are many, many blocks with no stop sign. And, the more space there is, the more time there is for people to pick up speed. And so I support that ordinance. So I hope you guys pass that in the second reading. I'm here to stand with my neighbors on the west side who came here to talk about everything you've heard about on West Side and Gautier. They have had consistent turnout at captain's meetings, consistent cries for help, consistent calls to police and the resident response center. And so we deserve a consistent and comprehensive response to the issues that people have talked about. I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not here to tell you guys or Captain O the way to do it. It sounds like it's probably some combination of the police and the quality of life task force. On a positive note, it sounds like that enforcement has actually started today. So I want to say to the people who have came to speak and who might be listening later that keep taking action because it is producing results. So we need to keep speaking up. We deserve the same safe conditions that people in downtown enjoy. The stuff you've heard people talk about, if that was happening in front of City Hall day in, day out, a block from a school, it would not be tolerated, and it shouldn't be tolerated on West Side and Gautier. People, I've talked to a lot of people, they're exhausted, they're demoralized about this issue. We don't want to believe that asking for help is futile, but we're going to keep speaking up until we have safe conditions in our neighborhoods. And that's all I got. Thank you for listening. Someone left their pen.
Next speaker, 5.22, King? Nope, not here. Next, 5.23, Brittany? Brittany's right there.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Sean. My name is Brittany Kelly, and I'm here tonight to speak about the corner of West Side and Gautier. This corner has been an issue for over 30 years, but in the recent years, it's gotten increasingly worse. I fear for this community that someone's going to be killed. I fear for the students and the staff at St. Aloysius. We need to make productive and proactive decisions instead of waiting until we have to mourn a member of this community. As the other speakers have stated, the direction from the police is to call. They need the data we have. They assign police to sit on the corner in their cars sometimes, but as we can see, that does absolutely nothing to deter this activity. They do it in front of them. They're drinking, selling and using drugs, they're using the bathroom, and they're leaving little presents around, not only on the corner, but by St. Al's. And God forbid it's a windy day. Residents don't even feel comfortable going to the restaurants in that area, which means we're not only failing our community, but we're failing the small businesses as well. It's unacceptable. If we can see that it's not changing, why can't the police? This is going to take a collaborative effort, but we really need the council support to clean up this corner. Summer is coming, and I guarantee you it will get worse. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.24, Mulaney. Mulaney's not here. Next speaker, 5.25, Diane.
Good evening. My name is Diane Outwell, and I'm proud to serve as the president of the Hamilton Park Neighborhood Association, representing the voices of our vibrant and diverse neighborhood. Regarding Ordinance 25058, as the weather warms and more families and visitors gather in Hamilton Park, we're once again seeing a significant increase in ice cream truck activity. These trucks are meant to bring joy and nostalgia, especially on a hot summer day. But in recent years, they've also brought persistent challenges to the neighborhood. Multiple vendors park, sometimes illegally, for extended periods, sometimes all day, with engines idling nonstop. This creates constant noise, exposes children to diesel exhaust just steps away from the playground, and raises safety concerns. This has taken a toll on the quality of life for residents who live directly across the park. At our HPNA public meeting this May, we heard a wide range of perspectives. Some neighbors spoke about how this issue has affected their day-to-day lives, while others shared their appreciation for the tradition and convenience the trucks offer. What's clear is that we need a thoughtful, balanced solution that considers the needs of all residents, vendors, and visitors alike. Councilman Solomon's office has made extensive efforts over the years to work with vendors to find compromise. But despite repeated outreach, these issues have continued. And that's why we're here tonight, to ask for your support on this proposal that provides clarity, fairness, and a constructive path forward. This legislation restores balance. It establishes clear and reasonable guidelines so that everyone, families enjoying the park and residents living nearby, can coexist more peacefully. It aims to preserve the joy these vendors bring while also protecting the health and safety of our community. We respectfully ask that you support this proposal. It reflects years of dialogue, the lived experience of residents, and a shared desire to ensure that our public spaces remain welcoming and livable for everyone. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker, 5.26, Kevin.
Can I approach you and give you some?
Yeah. No problem.
Evening, City Council. Today marks the 59th consecutive City Council meeting where our group has come before you. We've delivered over 1,000 speeches. We might be approaching a record here, perhaps one of those really big records. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss the next council meeting. I hear there may even be some awards. I want to take a moment to recap, especially in light of a major TV piece expected to air early next week and the increased attention we're receiving from the nation's top news outlets. Jersey City has become, in many ways, the epicenter of the affordable housing crisis, particularly regarding algorithmic software used to set rent prices and violations of rent control laws, issues that frequently go hand in hand. At the last council meeting, I highlighted how New Jersey Attorney General Matt Plotkin specifically mentioned rent control avoidance in his lawsuit. Even as these investigations continue, which seem to cover everything from junk fees to attempts to reclassify services such as amenity fees or charging $1,000 or more for the non-exclusive use of amenities when historically these fees were not charged. It's astonishing that our landlord would make such blatant moves. They don't seem to grasp that they're only strengthening the case against themselves. And I'm not referring to the few relatively small lawsuits we filed. I believe these tactics will prove extraordinarily expensive, and we hope they'll change their approach before they place their employees in legal peril related to state or even federal actions. The defense of "my company made me do it" only goes so far. As a non-lawyer, I guess it just seems like a bad idea to me. We often try to amplify the voices of those who are struggling. Tonight, I'd like to share several new voices through their signed statements. I hope these guide the actions of Equity Residential and their employees and reinforce the importance for this city, its mayor, this council, and Director Richardson to provide honest services to the taxpayers of Jersey City as obligated by law. Please enter into the record 3 letters signed by numerous members of Congress and senators. 1 letter signed by 17 members of Congress addressing RealPage mentions only 2 landlords across our entire country. Spoiler alert, one of them is Equity Residential. Another letter is addressed solely to Mark Perrell, President and CEO of Equity Residential, sent by Senators Elizabeth Warren and Edward Markey, along with Congressman Seth Moulton. You also have in your hands letters naming Equity Residential, specifically signed by Representatives Cori Bush, Katie Porter, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez. Additionally, you have a letter signed by New Jersey's own Senator Cory Booker. For the sake of Equity's renters, investors, employees, I hope they take these congressional investigation letters very seriously. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.27, Daniel.
wanted to start off with a quick quote. Quote, with respect to Portside, I wanted to see if maybe we can visit that security part because that's upsetting and it's pretty troubling. You know, when you see that there are so many breaches going on in that building, it's not fair for an entity to feel not secured. You know, that's completely unacceptable. So I'm going to follow up with the law department. My aide is going to follow up with you guys, but I just wanted to make it clear that we were talking about two different things. We're not talking about the litigation situation. We're talking about their safety. And that's, you know, extremely important. Not that they're not both important, but that security stuff is very, very important. We want to make sure that you know that we're hearing you, end quote. That was a quote from the City Council meeting on January 15th, 2025, 126 days ago from Councilman at Large, Mr. Daniel Rivera. And yet we still don't have uniformed security guards in our building, Portside Towers. According to Chapter 218, Article 1 of the Jersey City Code of Ordinances, quote, every owner or agent of an owner of a multiple dwelling of 100 or more dwelling units shall furnish a minimum of one uniformed security guard for each residential building in the property or premises upon its premises 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, end quote. It goes on to say, quote, for the purposes of this chapter, a uniformed security guard shall consist of a licensed New Jersey security guard as specified in NJSA 35:55A, hired for the purpose of protection of persons or property, real or personal, from injury or harm that wears a particular set of clothes that clearly identifies them as a security guard, end quote. So Mr. Rivera, you were right in saying that it's not fair for an entity, namely our building Portside Towers, to not feel secured. We could have used 24/7 uniformed security when an attacker chased a woman into our building last year, leaving a trail of blood. We could have used 24/7 uniformed security when a bullet pierced a young child's window in one of our buildings last year. The longer time goes without uniformed security in our building, the more of a chance that something really, really bad could happen. So I do think, Mr. Rivera, that you are hearing us. I do agree with that. But hearing us isn't the same as taking action. And quite frankly, I don't believe that this council is truly powerless in getting us uniformed security, considering that we have an ordinance that clearly outlines that right. President Waterman, you brought up a very good point when you were voting on the ordinance earlier regarding enforcement. And that is a huge, huge, huge concern for us, both for this ordinance that you all passed. Thank you for passing it, as well as the uniform security stuff, because we've got an ordinance that clearly outlines we should have uniform security. Whoever is in charge of enforcing it is not enforcing it. So really, please act, do everything you can in your power to take care of it for our safety. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.28, Anna. Next speaker, 5.29, Tara. Sorry,
That's okay.
time's up. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. Good evening, Council. I'm Tara Smythe, former Equity residential tenant. I stand before you joining the voices of Portside residents who have been addressing this council since November 2022 about several persistent issues, including Equity Residential's failure to maintain resident superintendents and security personnel at both Portside Towers. And I always stand with Portside because any of the issues that they experience in that building, I also experienced as a resident at 70 Green. Or flooding might be worse. I'll challenge you on that one. Each tower at Portside houses over 200 units. That's hundreds of families, seniors, children, and working professionals who deserve the safety measures guaranteed by Jersey City ordinances. I recognize the challenges of enforcing regulations across a growing city. However, when a $28 billion corporation like Equity Residential consistently ignores these requirements while collecting premium rents, it undermines the very laws this council has established to protect residents. I'm not here to complain, but to collaborate. Many Portside residents, including my friends here tonight, and I have expertise in property management, security, and tenant organizing. We're willing to work with the council and Equity Residential to develop a compliance plan that addresses these safety concerns. Tonight, I'm asking for two specific actions. One, establish a working group including council members, residents, and equity representatives. And 2, set a firm deadline for compliance with superintendent and security requirements. Together, we can ensure that Portside Towers becomes a model for safety and compliance rather than an example of enforcement failure. Thank you for your partnership in addressing the important issue.
Our next speaker, 5.30, Brendan.
Good evening, Council. Earlier we heard you voted on to pass the ordinance regarding banning rent control, and Council President Waterman expressed her worries that we will not be able to enforce this ordinance like many of the ordinances passed by this council and enforced in laws such as rent control, the security ordinances, lack of proper bike safety. Multiple of these ordinances are being passed but not enforced. I jokingly suggested to the group, and I am now forced to bring it up here, we should pass an ordinance to start enforcing the city's ordinances and repeat this process until they get enforced. Now, in all seriousness, a much better idea would be examining why these ordinances aren't being enforced and either providing the departments resources or reassigning the ordinances to departments that have the resource and capacity to actually enforce them. Why should a multi-billion-dollar company get away with charging whatever they want, doing whatever they want, while the city while we are forced to twiddle our thumbs and hope someone is going to enforce an ordinance and it gets carried out and executed through the courts? That this isn't working. It's not how you run a successful city. Even the South would complain about how bad this is. Now, here's what we can actually do. We can start focusing on passing and executing ordinances on landlords and entities, enforce the bike lanes. It is unsafe biking around Jersey City right now just because of the e-bike drivers who have no idea what traffic is. I've nearly been knocked over trying to bike up the hill to the Heights, a situation I do not wish to repeat. Now, moving on, I'd like to bring up, and even now with the new ordinance we passed regarding rent control, there are multiple holes in the ordinance that will allow landlords to bypass the carefully considered regulations that we need to reconsider in a separate ordinance. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.31, Mark.
Good evening, members of the City Council. I'm here tonight not for the first time, and regrettably, I'm sure it's not for the last time, and I wish it was unnecessary. For nearly a year now, I've raised the alarm about the dangerously inadequate security at Portside. 9 months ago, this council took an important step forward with the passage of Ordinance 24055, strengthening the municipal code and clearly requiring uniform security services for multiple dwelling residences. When the mayor signed it into law on June 27th, it felt like a turning point, a moment of hope. Yet here we are after 9 months and the same threats remain. That beacon of hope is diminished. Despite the law's clear mandate, we continue to lack the required uniform security. In December, chaos erupted in our lobby when 2 non-residents caused a major disturbance, necessitating a multi-officer police response. Where was the mandated security? On November the 5th, a resident received a death threat from someone parked at the southern end of Washington. Again, a police report was filed, but the fear remains and it's spreading. To make matters worse, Washington Street is legally required to be secured with a chain at 8 p.m. each evening under Ordinance 07-153, a task assigned to Portside security. But again, without security personnel, the task goes undone night after night. Residents are doing everything we have been advised to do. We've been documenting these violations with daily see-click-fix tickets. Many of the tickets have received responses from Joe Barrows stating that summonses have been issued. Yet we see no evidence that Equity Residential is responding. No change, no compliance. It leads us to ask, what consequence do these summonses carry if they result in no corrective action? What recourse remains when laws are ignored and residents are left unprotected? So I'm asked this council plainly, what tools does the city have to compel Equity Residential to meet its legal obligations? Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.32, David.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is David Wilson and I'm a tenant at Portside Towers. And there were a couple of events that took place this month in May. One is I began paying a new increased rent, which is increased as a factor over the previous illegally high rent that I was paying. Also, I received an email from Equity Residential. It said, "We are reaching out to share the most recent copy of our Department of Community Affairs Certificate of Registration." And then there was another sentence which I thought was extraordinary. "As a general reminder, our 24-hour emergency service line can be reached by calling," it gives a phone number, "and following the prompts." So there's one time that I really don't want to go through a voicemail system and follow the prompts, and that's when there's an emergency. This is the exact thing that they are providing. I noticed that today you recognized the director of the Office of Emergency Management and commended them and the fire department and the police department on their response to an emergency. And I was glad to see that. And it shows that the city council takes emergency situations seriously, and also that the city is able to mount a very strong and effective response in an emergency situation. So I would like to see that, some of that dedication put forward toward enforcing the requirement that that we should be able to get a hold of somebody, an actual real live person, in the event of an emergency. So thank you.
Next speaker, 5.33, Joel.
Good evening, Madam President and council members. When we talk about safety and security in our homes, per ordinance 216-1A, every owner or agent of an owner in a multiple dwelling of 100 or more dwelling units shall furnish a minimum of one uniformed security guard upon its premises 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As we have repeatedly reported and members of this council have seen during visits to the two multiple dwellings that make up the Portside Towers apartments, our landlord flagrantly ignores this provision of your ordinances. I have seen no uniformed security guards since I moved into Portside Towers in 2019. For ordinance 2018-1B, each uniformed guard shall make a periodic patrol of inspection of the premises and shall undertake all actions necessary to assure that the personal safety and privacy of the residents of each dwelling unit and their guests. This matters. Without security guards, the employees stationed in the lobby often perform these patrols or otherwise address security issues away from the lobby. In such cases, the lobby of both buildings often are unattended for extended periods, with exterior doors unlocked and/or automatic doors maintained in the open position. I have personally observed absence of more than 15 minutes, both during busy delivery times in the early evening and after dark. It takes only one incident for criminal activity to sneak into our homes and seriously injure us or worse. Please ensure that the city enforces all elements of 218 to protect the lives and property of your constituents. There is also a request from one of the colleagues who was not able to make it here today and is facing significant challenges in their homes. It is from Anna, who was not able to join, but they are having a rally Sunday at 3 p.m. at 995 Summit Avenue. Would appreciate for the council and anyone to show up, come and show up for them. Their landlord is evicting all tenants by the end of the month. Their landlord, Isaac Seebag and Veronica Hutt. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.34, Barbara.
Good evening, City Council. In the many, many times that I've stood before you in the past 3 years, I've told you how much I value the truth. That's why it's so galling to hear a Jersey City mayor full of talk out of both sides of his mouth. His doublespeak is plastered on billboards, claiming he is the New Jersey gubernatorial candidate who will guarantee transparency, that he is the one who will allow all New Jersey voters to see how his government is at work. Yet everything I have witnessed in his job as mayor proves otherwise. Neighbors at Portside Towers have had their negative responses stripped from his social media feed so that only glowing comments remain. Social media these days is often the only way some voters get what they consider news. On top of that, a federal lawsuit filed against Fulop by the Jersey City Times alleges that the Times and its editor were removed from the city's press list in retaliation for publishing stories critical of the mayor. The complaint was filed on behalf of the Times by attorney Jennifer Borg, who's a fellow at Yale Law School. This case sounds an awful lot like President Trump's effort to muzzle the press in Washington, D.C. The Associated Press filed a lawsuit when Trump tried to bar the Newswire from covering him because of truthful reporting that he didn't like. A judge has ordered the White House to restore full access to the president. That judge ruled that the effort to ban the AP over the objections to its coverage violated the First Amendment. That's the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution that spells out rights of those living in the United States, even in Jersey City. In conclusion, you may be wondering, what is my ask? My ask is this. Several of you have announced campaigns to become the next mayor of Jersey City. Please, please, please do a better and more honest and more transparent job than the current mayor. That means valuing the truth, and that means freedom of the press, exactly like it says in the U.S. Constitution. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.35, Shannon.
Hello again, Council. I had to miss the council meeting 2 weeks ago. I'll get a little personal because I had to have a lumpectomy. Really wanted to be here, but I was in too much pain and I had to be smart and remember that I was a patient. On that note, I wanted to speak tonight as though Jersey City's housing market is my patient. The symptoms of this patient that this patient are exhibiting are clear: rising rents, housing scarcity, and neighborhoods transforming from residential communities to tourist zones. The diagnosis is equally clear. We have a shortage of affordable long-term housing. So now, fortunately, we're presented with a treatment plan. So let's look at that plan, Ordinance 25-059. Unfortunately, this prescription contains dangerous contraindications that will worsen the condition rather than cure it. The first contraindication, redefining owner-occupied to allow corporate ownership where one member identifies as a unit as their residence. This will accelerate the corporate takeover of housing. The second contraindication, allowing owners to operate multiple units as short-term rentals in multifamily buildings. This converts residential buildings into de facto hotels. The third contraindication, expanding categories of permitted short-term rentals rather than restricting them. This further reduces long-term housing stock. And the fourth contraindication, relying on reactive enforcement rather than proactive monitoring. This ensures treatment failure. Any responsible nurse knows a treatment that contains ingredients that worsen the disease is simply malpractice. Every loophole in this ordinance directly contradicts contradicts its stated purpose. I urge you to reformulate this prescription before administering it to our city. The health of our housing market and the well-being of our residents depend on it. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.36, Drew. Okay. Next speaker, 5.37, Susan.
Good evening. My name is Susan Roca, and I've been a resident at Portside Towers since August of 2024. This is my first time addressing the council, and I'm very proud to stand with my Portside neighbors. I'm here today because I'm deeply concerned about safety and management issues at Portside, which are two buildings, each with over 200 units that are owned and operated by Equity Residential. What I've recently discovered has left me not only concerned, but genuinely alarmed. Despite Jersey City ordinances clearly requiring buildings with more than 6 units to have a residential superintendent, neither of our towers have one. Jersey City law mandates this for a reason. Resident superintendents provide essential oversight, emergency response, and daily maintenance that keeps residents like us safe. Additionally, neither building has uniformed security personnel. In buildings of this size, housing hundreds of residents, this absence creates significant safety vulnerabilities that put all tenants and their families at risk. When I signed my lease, I assumed that Equity Residential was operating these properties in compliance with city regulations. I trusted the basic safety requirements were being met. Now I realize that isn't the case, and I worry what other corners have been cut. As a resident who chooses Jersey City as my home, I'm asking for your help in enforcing the existing ordinances that were created to protect residents like me and my neighbors. This isn't about compliance or technicalities. It's about the safety and well-being of hundreds of your constituents living in these towers. I respectfully request that the council ensures Equity Residential fulfills its legal obligations to their tenants. All we are asking for is the basic oversight and protection the law already guarantees us and the services for which we are already paying. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Our next speaker, 5.38, Suzanne.
Good evening, council. Sorry, I'm gonna make this bigger. My story or my speech involves the story of the 3 little pigs. Everyone remembers the story of the 3 little pigs, right? We all learned as children that the house of bricks was safest because it was built properly, with attention to detail and adherence to standards. The pig who built that house understood something fundamental. Proper construction and maintenance aren't luxuries. They're necessities. Today at Portside Towers, we're living in what appears to be a house of bricks, but it increasingly feels like a house of straw. Our buildings look impressive from the outside, towering structures with over 200 units each, but they lack the fundamental safety infrastructure that your own ordinance requires. Since 2022, residents have been telling this council that we have no resident superintendents in either tower, despite Jersey City's law clearly mandating them for buildings with more than 6 units. We also lack security personnel, leaving hundreds of residents vulnerable. When the wolf of emergency comes, whether it's flooding, fire, medical crisis, or security breach, we're left with no one to call within our buildings. Like the first 2 pigs, we're discovering too late that our housing lacks essential protections. Equity Residential, our landlord, has been huffing and puffing with excuses since 2022, while collecting premium rents from Jersey City residents. Big bad wolf. I'm not asking for extravagance. I'm asking for the basic protections that Jersey City has already determined are necessary through its own legislation. Don't let Portside Towers become a cautionary tale about what happens when we allow developers to ignore safety regulations. The moral of the story shouldn't be that rules only apply to some. Please enforce Ordinance 254-45 and require Equity Residential to provide the resident superintendents and security that hundreds of your constituents deserve. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.39, Jessica.
Good evening again, Council. Thank you for hearing us this evening on multiple topics. Actually pivoted completely from the original speech I had for this section in response to President Waterman's concern about enforcement, because as we've said, we're also concerned about enforcement. I mean, what tools are at our disposal? And, you know, we all know that a law that isn't enforced is essentially just words on a paper. Intention is good, but action is more meaningful. And as a city governed under the Faulkner Act, we know the mayor holds substantial executive power. Here, we know Mayor Fulop has consistently prevented ordinance enforcement and in fact should never be allowed to become governor. And tonight, I just received yet again an illegal rent increase. My rent is now 60% higher than in 2021. But we also know that the council has the authority and the responsibility to ensure the will of the people is actually carried out. Tonight, I'm offering a path forward. First, we need to start writing ordinances that do require enforcement, not ones with vague language. Nothing like may issue penalties or at the city's discretion. Let's use language like must initiate enforcement within 30 days of a verified complaint, or failure to act within 60 days must be reported to the council. Without that kind of clarity of language, ordinances become optional, and that's just not how justice works. Second, I urge this council to pass a resolution requiring quarterly enforcement reports from all departments responsible for compliance, housing, zoning, code enforcement, and so on. These reports should be public and they should include basic metrics. How many complaints were filed, how many were resolved, and how long it took. It's not about gotchas, it's about making government work better. And I happen to know that where this would have been a process burden, even 3 years ago, it no longer is with the power of large language models and AI. This can be automated. This can be touch of the finger. This doesn't mean hiring more people. It doesn't mean hiring special software developers. It means delivering an effective database. Third, let's create a public enforcement dashboard. Cities like Boston and Minneapolis already do this. Residents can see in real time how many violations are reported. Now, you might say we have see, click, fix, but it's actually nearly impossible to see all of the violations for a given property in see, click, fix. There is a way to do this, but not through that portal. So just want to emphasize, we're not powerless. There are things we can do to demand and ensure enforcement. You have the power. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.40, Carol. It's Carol. Oh, she's not. Thank you. Next speaker, 5.41, Liv.
Hey y'all, my name's Liv Malone. I live in Ward B. I don't think we've met yet, but I'd love to speak to you if you or your aide is available. Last public hearing, I incorrectly said the rent control exemption letter for my building was 17 days late. The truth is it was 47 days late. My landlord, Amir Ben Yohanan, attempted to file this exemption 17 days after filing the CO for the building instead of 30 days before the CO, as required by Chapter 260. So 30 plus 17, 47 days. I majored in biology, not mathematics. So 47 days. This case of, is it rent controlled? Is it not rent controlled? It's clear cut. And it's already been deliberated in both the New Jersey lower and appellate court just a few years ago. Like, have you guys heard about Willow Ridge Apartments in Union City? I know who's standing behind me, so I'm guessing yes, but that it's been a while. It used to be unclear what happens if an owner files or fails to file the required exemption notice on time. Luckily, the New Jersey Appellate Division fixed that right up, and I'll read a quote. In Willow Ridge Apartments LLC versus Union City Rent Stabilization Board, the court held that the property owners who fail to submit proper notice of exemption at least 30 days before a CO is issued forfeit their right to rent control protection under the New Jersey newly constructed multiple dwellings law. In this case, Willow Ridge, the owner of Willow Ridge, was unable to prove that the prior owner had properly filed the required exemption notice. And as a result, the property was not exempt from rent control. Yes, the lower court ruled that burden rested with the owner, and their failure to comply resulted in the loss of their exemption. The appellate court affirmed the lower court's ruling, and that was the end of it. Amir Ben Yohanan built 429 Bergen Avenue, like 6 years ago, and didn't do it by the book. The book was there. He didn't do it. I don't know why. None of my business. The consequences are clear, though. Can we please get on with this? Landlord-tenant should not have begun to review my illegal rent petition if they wanted to sit on it again. So maybe Councilwoman, the interim Councilwoman from my ward, maybe we can work together with Director Richardson and talk about moving it forward. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.42, Michelle.
Good evening. Imagine walking into every grocery store in Jersey City and discovering that a carton of eggs costs exactly $12 everywhere you go, not $11.99 at one store and $12.25 at another, exactly $12 at every single store. You'd be suspicious, wouldn't you? Then imagine finding out that all these supposedly competing grocery stores were using the same secret computer program to set their prices. A program designed not to give you the best deal, but to charge you the absolute maximum that they think you'll pay before you give up eating eggs altogether. This is just the market rate for eggs, they tell you with a shrug when you complain, but there's nothing market about it when competitors secretly agree not to compete. This is exactly what's happened with our homes, the most essential purchase we make every month. Attorney General Plotkin's complaint reveals the scheme. Landlords across New Jersey have been using the same algorithm to set rent prices designed to extract maximum profits while ensuring no one undercuts their competitors. Paragraph 169 of that complaint reveals something even more disturbing. This algorithm was specifically programmed to find ways around rent control laws, the very protections meant to keep housing affordable. At Portside Towers, we've lived this nightmare. We're still living it. While Equity Residential wasn't named in Plotkin's complaint, they're facing similar allegations in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere. In November 2023, our rent leveling board unanimously ruled that Portside should have been subject to rent control all along, a protection that would have saved residents from increases of up to 60%. Instead, tenants who once paid $4,500 a month now pay $6,500 a month or more. Imagine if your grocery bill suddenly doubled with no improvement in the food that you're buying. You've taken action by passing the ordinance that prohibits the price fixing scheme. But just as we wouldn't trust price fixing grocers to police themselves, we need robust enforcement to ensure landlords comply. No one understands the impact of these artificial price hikes better than the residents of Portside. We're not just statistics, we're your neighbors who have been forced to choose between paying inflated rents or leaving the community we call home. Thank you for taking the first step. ensure all loopholes are going to be closed, and enforce it
Thank you.
vigorously. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.43, Meredith. She left. Okay. Next, 5.44, Eve.
Good evening. Since I last spoke 2 weeks ago, Prosecutor Gloria O once again refused to issue fines on years-old building violation summons issued to my landlord, despite I have been repeatedly attacked with carbon monoxide, which I now have brain damage and permanent disability. When I sent a mass email asking Gloria O exactly how dead do I need to be before the court issues and collects fines, she totally disregarded me again. The Rent Leveling Board recently told the Municipal Prosecutor's Office to prosecute bad actor, not my landlord, but landlord Luther Feldman. The prosecutor office refused to do it, instead lied to the Rent Leveling Board, who bounced the summons matter to Superior Court. So Feldman's tenants are now getting shuffled between 3 courts on top of landlord harassment. Feldman's summons show a high rate of ticket fixing, years-old fire violation summons. Feldman's tenant, Anna Bassett, already went 6 months without working plumbing and was driven out of her apartment, while the court has done 0 with 10 open harassment summons against her landlord, Luther Feldman. Hey, Team Fulop, how dead, injured, and bankrupt do we need to be before this stops? This unlawful circumvention of democratic law is Mayor Stephen Fulop's and City Council's job by law to stop. Stephen Fulop has now failed to appear at City Council 9 times in a row and totally ignores me and the legions of other citizens in suffering because ticket fixing is his policy, despite the fact that ticket fixing summons is a felony and that carries a mandatory minimum 5-year jail sentence for fixing 1 summons. And there are thousands. Stephen Fulop is just determined to hang on to his total failure to enforce housing law, follow basic public accounting statutes, and enforce basic rules of court. Constituents pleading for relief are retaliated against or ignored, while Fulop donors and insiders are shielded. The city, meanwhile, has no rent control ledger. Fulop isn't controlling rent prices when he won't keep a ledger of what the legal rent prices are or what buildings are rent controlled. That violates NJSA 48.5-4 and Chapter 260 rent control ordinance. The city must address audit violations within 60 days by filing a plan of correction with the DCA under NJAC 530-6.5. Municipal court ticket fixing has been listed on the city audit violations for 8 straight years. Failure to maintain a rent control ledger is an audit violation, which has gone on more than 5 years. Again, New Jersey state law, NJAC 530-6.5 mandates audit violations be stopped within 60 days, not 5 years and not 8 years. I'm asking again for immediate enforcement of all of the laws, and we also need the Department of Justice and the state comptroller here now. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.45, Jessica. I think she left, right? 5.46, Robin. No, gone. 5.47, Adrian. 5.48, Kayleen. 5.49, Anna. 5.50, Joe. 5.51, Frederick. 5.52, Sharon.
Resolution 25264, April 23rd, and 25326, May 7th, were to allow an open space grant application, a chance at a chance, one component of a possible future conversation, adding real funds to a discussion. So I'd like to debunk some of the confusion and the myth. When the university's community gardens was sold to a developer a few years ago, knowing community hoped to buy it to keep it a garden, an allowable use in its U zone, the 24-year green space suddenly came under threat of ceasing to exist, of rezoning by variance. Once this space is gone, it's gone. The resolution was not about taking, claiming, or imposing on someone's property.
It's about a grant to possibly offer money to save this green space. Yes, there's a zoning application. What business person wouldn't want to increase their assets value? They told us repeatedly they're willing to sell for the right price. We were told that the city would contact them. The community did our part and reached out to them to relay our intentions from the beginning, and that this resolution was for an open space grant that could be part of a conversation and an agreeable outcome for all. With the amount of time, care, energy, learning, and work this has taken us for over 2 years, it seems quite certain that this won't lead to many others doing the same. This lot, with its 24-year green history, its zoning, 40-foot endangered elm, and specific location within the Mayhew Terrace historic 1895 row, on a denser block than all surrounding, presents a unique situation, a rare, real opportunity with special defining circumstances. We've done the work to save this green space, to help restore it as an urban oasis, a community garden, an educational, cultural, and wellness space for the students and all to holistically benefit from, as previously, for generations to come. It's been a process of generous sweat equity and grounded creative problem solving. The county has requested the resolution match their template, so let's do that. We've clarified the issues. Let's resolve it together. Thank you, Council, for 7 letters of support and your 6-2 vote to approve on May 7th. Thank you, Mayor and Business Administrator, for your letter of support. Thanks to all who support us. And lastly, shifting gears, I strongly support addressing the chronic issues on Gautier and West Side Ave, improving the West Side. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.53, Ryan. Not here. And 5.54, Bruce, I believe, left. Okay, that will conclude our public speaking portion of the meeting. We're now moving on to our petitions and communications. Any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.34? Hearing none. Any questions or comments on office communications 7.1 through 7.3? Any questions or comments on report of directors 8.1 through 8.3? Next, on to our claims and addendums number 1 and number 2. Council members going to be taking the vote on claims and addendums number 1 and number 2. Councilperson Ridley.
She stepped away.
Okay, thank you. Councilperson Hewlings.
Yes.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Claims and addendums number 1 and number 2 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Ridley absent. On to our resolutions. Council members are going to be taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.14, with the exception of 10.8, which was approved earlier. Councilperson Hewlings.
Yes.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
That's a 14.
Yes, sir.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
Council President Waterman. Items 10.4 through 14, 10.1 through 10.14 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Ridley absent. On to our next set of resolutions. Items 10.15 through 10.26. Councilperson Hewlings.
Yes.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore. Yes.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Resolutions 10.15 through 10.26 are approved 8-0, with Councilperson Ridley absent. And on to our last set of resolutions. Before we take a vote, I just want to confirm with the business administrator that we are withdrawing item 10.29.
That's right, Sean. We'll bring it back at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. 29. So with that being said, items 10.29 through 10.32 are withdrawn. So council members are going to be taking the vote on items 10.27, 28, 33, 34, and 35. Councilperson Hewlings.
Yes.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Items 10.27 and 28 are approved 8-0. Councilperson Ridley absent. Items 10.29 through 32 are withdrawn. Items 10.33 through 10.35 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Ridley absent.
Motion.
Oh, hold on. I want to ask, legal or the BA, with regards to the situation, with the uniform security. I know I've been down there personally yesterday and I haven't seen any security. Also seen several people sending in emails, for potential violations. Do we have any updates as it relates to, the citations that was issued and if any of them went to court yet?
All I know is that there have been multiple violations issued. I don't have the specific ticket numbers. I was look them up, but I have to follow up with the prosecutor's office to get the actual ticket numbers so that we can check out and see where they're at. There have been multiple different violations issued, though. I don't have any court dates for you, though.
I would want to follow up with that, just to see how the process is going as it relates to the citations.
Hey, can I have a motion to adjourn at 9:26 PM?
Second.
Motion to adjourn was made by Council President Waterman. It was seconded first by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to adjourn at 9:26 PM, all council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
We are out of here at 9:26 PM. Thank you so much, everyone present and everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great night. Stay safe.